If you've ever thanked Claude for saving you time throughout your workday, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. We're here at Thursday. We had Walmart earnings this morning, which we're going to take a look at for sure. We've got some more news, and we've got some ruffles being made about data centers. And frankly, folks, this is just the beginning with midterms coming, I'm afraid. I hope all of you had a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. We've got another day to make some money here today. We've got another CEO interview for you here today. We're going to do more trading. And as if that wasn't good enough, at the end of the day here, we have more football tonight. It's going to be a good one. I can feel it already. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Thursday edition for August 20th, 2026, begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. I hope that you all had a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. We're back here for the penultimate day of the week as we get another day to trade some stocks here, hopefully make some money, and we are one day closer to the weekend. It is great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here today. We'll see what the market has in store for us. Tell you what, a little bit of weakness here in the pre-market so far. We'll see if that firms up ahead of today's open. EKS is first here today. Let's go, EKS. Deere & Company plus 3.34% on the earnings beat. All right, EKS. Let's go. I actually don't have any trade on Deere. I don't have any news on Deere, but we can absolutely take a look at that, especially if you think there's a trade to be had going forward. Derek, good morning. Welcome back. Jay Wild, good morning. Welcome back. Pot G, good afternoon. Ryan and De Benzi gang. It's a very Belgian way of doing that, I think. Nonetheless, good afternoon to you and good morning to everybody else. Corey, good morning. Welcome back. Good to see you as always. Crispy Biscuit, likewise, good morning and welcome back. Alan, always good to see you. Good morning and welcome back. Time to hoard NVIDIA for next week's earnings. So, Alan, I think that you have a bullish outlook on NVIDIA. You know, one of the things we have seen is we've actually seen NVIDIA run into earnings. And with them reporting, I think, on Thursday next week, there might be a couple days swing there, even if the earnings aren't all that great. I am expecting them to put up a good number. Really, the reaction is going to be what I'm most interested in. Robert, good morning. Oh, EKS, also, sorry, it was great out there. EKS also telling us that the debt has hit 40 trillion as the Treasury enters the end game. That is going to be a lot of talk about that. Andrew Sorkin was on CNBC earlier saying they're basically doing an impromptu special on the debt. So be ready for a lot more of those headlines coming out of the financial media here. Robert, good morning. Welcome back. Whis, good morning. Welcome back. Yes, that girl. Good morning. Good morning? Question mark? No. No question marks. It is definitely a good morning. Let's change those question marks to exclamation points. And let's have a good one. Good to see you here this morning. Francis, good morning. Welcome back. Producer, locked in and ready to go. You love it. Robot to trade, good morning. Barb, good to see you again. Welcome back. Harlugo, good morning. Welcome back. Cynthia, good morning. Welcome back. Linda, good morning. Welcome back. Is that Santosh? Santosh, hello and good morning. Just passing through. Good morning and welcome back. Good to see you. Hopefully the sun is shining on you here today. Bernhard, good morning. Welcome back. Maverick, good morning. Welcome back. Ed, good morning. Ed says, poop and drop, shack and bake. Ricky Bobby. Ed's a little feisty here this morning, it seems. Mitch, good morning. Welcome back. Castle, good morning. Unpopular Truth, good morning. I'll tell you what, our Twitter gang is out in force here today. You absolutely love that. Richard Judge, good morning. It's always good to see you. Welcome back. Alvin, good morning. Welcome back. The Goods, good morning. Welcome back. C Boogie and Carmen, good morning and welcome back. Durkis, good morning. Nikhil, good morning. Peter, good morning. Russ, ATL Russ, locked in. Good to see you again. Hope all is well. Haven't seen you in a bit. But like I said, good to see you again. Zach McCracken, good morning and welcome back. Hong, good morning. Welcome. And Tyler, good morning and welcome back. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started with our stock market today. All right, futures under pressure ahead of Thursday's open, and it is getting worse by the second, it looks like here. S&P futures down 0.42%, and at the lows of the morning, Dow futures down 0.64%, also at the lows of the morning, and the Nasdaq down 0.65%, also at its lows. We also have oil ticking up today. So oil is up by 3.4% on the back of the economic warfare going on in the Middle East. Now, let's take a look at some cues from last session, as well as what we can expect here today. Healthcare, consumer discretionary, and materials led S&P 500 gains on Wednesday, while industrials and information technology fell. Yet U.S. stocks settled higher overall as the Dow Jones added 100 points after the Treasury doubled long-dated debt buybacks, pulling yields off 20-month highs. U.S. stock futures were lower on Thursday as the Dow, S&P, and Nasdaq indices all fell following Wednesday's higher close. President Trump announced a harsh economic offensive against Iran, dubbed Operation Economic Fury, threatening severe consequences for any nation offering Tehran financial support. The aggressive stance and tightening U.S. naval grip around the Strait of Hormuz escalated Middle East geopolitical tensions, and that drove Brent crude higher towards $92 a barrel. President Trump said, quote, "Their navy is gone, their air force is destroyed, their military factories are now rubble, and their currency is worthless, and their country is hanging by a thread," end quote. Trump had said that in a Truth Social post, calling the effort economic D-Day. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.66%, and the 2-year bond was at 4.17%. The CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections show the market's pricing in a 32.8% likelihood that the Federal Reserve hikes the current interest rates during the September meeting. Now, we've got several We've got several stocks in focus here for you today. The first one here is actually going to be Coty. This is COTY. Coty fell 5.61% after posting mixed results for the fourth quarter after Wednesday's closing bell. It reported quarterly losses of 2 cents per share, which missed the consensus estimate of a loss of 1 cent per share. The next stock on our list is going to be Nordson, if my page can hold the spot there. Nordson, ticker NDSN, it jumped 7.16% after reporting better than expected third quarter financial results and raising its fiscal year 2026 guidance. The next stock on our list is going to be Webull, ticker BULL, and it surged 14.35% higher after reporting second quarter revenue of $198.83 million. That was up 51% year over year and above the $181.26 million estimate, while adjusted EPS of 5 cents beat the expectations of 3 cents. The next stock on our list is going to be Moderna, in a continuation from yesterday. The ticker is MRNA, and it corrected by 11.57% after a 176.97% rally on Wednesday, after its personalized mRNA cancer vaccine with Merck, ticker MRK, succeeded in a phase 3 melanoma trial, marking the first phase 3 win for an mRNA-based cancer treatment. The last stock on our list is going to be Walmart, which reported earnings here this morning. It was 0.07% higher as it was getting ready to report earnings before the opening bell. Analysts were expecting 74 cents per share on revenue of $186.83 billion. Now, since then, Walmart earnings are out, and they posted a Q2 adjusted EPS of 81 cents, which beat the 74-cent estimate, and sales came in at $187.937 billion, which beat the $186.94 billion estimate. Walmart raised its guidance as well, but the stock is off by 6%. All right, folks, let's take a look at the SPY chart and see where we are here today. Now, what we've been saying for the last several sessions, really since August 6th, which I believe is this day. Yeah, since August 6th, we've really been trading sideways. Now, we did set one new all-time high in there, but it was not a whole lot more. It almost looked like a fake breakout, if you want my honest opinion on the whole thing. It looked like we were going to try to do that. It kind of did, but then it kind of didn't, came back in a little bit. Now it sure looks like we're going to test lower here. The spot that we were looking at was 767.46, and we have actually broken beneath that here. We're at 765 here in the pre-market. So if we open right here, we're actually going to open beneath that support level. As you can see by the daily chart here, it sure looks like we're coming in to retest the previous breakout spot of 760.28. We also have that 20-day, as we've been kind of watching over the last several sessions. That 20-day has really kind of been creeping up, and the hope here is that it gives more support to this market that's coming back in a little bit. Now, that value's at 761. So we're currently at 765. The two support areas really seem to be about 760 and about 761. So I would imagine 760 to 761 here today, if we continue to sell off, would provide some ample support. As far as upside levels, I'm still thinking that the 776.85 is going to be one of the key significant ones. I suppose if we took a look inside here at the SPY, you might also kind of take a look at 772 from yesterday if we do get back up there. And then more immediately here, if the market can find any type of strength, perhaps it can go red-green, and yesterday's closing price there of 769.06 in that case would be a key level. Really quick check-in here on the Q, since we've kind of been doing that recently as well. Here's what it looks like. Again, this is a little bit different of a story than the SPY, where we actually did not set new all-time highs. We did, again, kind of have like a fake breakout from the trend line that connects some of the previous all-time highs, but we really weren't able to hold above that. Now we've kind of come back in. We're actually sitting here in the pre-market beneath the 50. So we're in between the 50 and the 20-day. This 20-day absolutely looks like some support. You could probably also just kind of round this down to 701, 700, as that would be a gap fill if we ended up getting that there on the Q. So we'll see where the market actually takes us here today. Is this a harbinger of things to come, or do we bounce here at all today? We shall see. We'll wait for the opening print there. Now, in the meantime, let's go ahead and take a look at some insights from analysts. Today, we have a breakdown here from BlackRock. BlackRock views the current market environment as driven by structural shifts rather than a typical business cycle. High corporate earnings growth and elevated long-term bond yields are not contradictory signals, but rather the result of a, quote, structurally higher cost of capital, end quote. BlackRock remains overweight U.S. equities driven by strong corporate earnings and artificial intelligence adoption. Analysts expect U.S. corporate earnings to grow by 11.6% annually over the next 5 years, a pace achieved in, quote, only about 15% of historical 5-year periods, end quote. However, this trajectory relies heavily on, quote, AI adoption boosting productivity and profit margins, end quote. Rather than a broad market exposure, BlackRock recommends targeting plays in AI bottlenecks, such as power, chips, and data centers. Boy, we've been talking about all of that. On the economy and fixed income, BlackRock anticipates persistent inflation risks and higher government borrowing. They remain underweight long-term U.S. Treasuries, citing that, quote, investors want more compensation for holding long-term bonds amid persistent inflation and higher debt loads, end quote. Consequently, they advise moving away from long-duration government debt in favor of short to medium-term bonds, private credit, and infrastructure equity. Now, the infrastructure part is interesting because Tim Melvin has literally been banging that drum for a long time. He's been absolutely right, and it looks like some of these bigger firms think that there's more runway to go on all of that. Now, speaking of data centers, so you have a story here. Trump made some comments yesterday about AI data centers needing public relations help. I think that's absolutely right. And the other thing here, the takeaway for us as traders, is I think going into November, we're going to see more and more and more comments on both sides about data centers, the negatives, the positives. This is going to be a battleground topic, I believe, for the midterms here, and you're starting to see some of that now. So I would say no matter how you feel on the subject here, this is definitely one to watch, and you are likely going to see movement from a lot of the stocks that we take a look at, depending on what some of these different talking heads are saying. Now, just to get the stage set here, President Trump said on Wednesday that data centers could use, quote, a little public relations help, end quote, as opposition to new AI infrastructure projects grows across the U.S. This is the NIMBY that we've been talking about. Trump made the remarks during a White House event with cryptocurrency executives and technology leaders. Asked about people who remain reluctant to embrace the evolution of AI, Trump said the technology would create jobs, drive innovation, and generate economic activity. And stay tuned because we actually have a stat on that coming. Trump said that if he were mayor of a town or a governor of a state with an opportunity to bring an AI plant or data center to the community, he would, quote, would absolutely want it, end quote, because, quote, the jobs are enormous and the taxes paid are just enormous, end quote. He also warned that communities that reject such projects could be left behind, saying that there are plenty of other places that do want the investment. Quote, maybe it can use a little public relations help, but if I were governor or mayor, I would want that plant in my community, end quote. That again was from Trump. The comments come as some state officials move to put stricter requirements on AI data center development. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, the Democrat from Pennsylvania, signed an executive order on Tuesday imposing new energy, environmental, and transparency requirements on data center developers. The rule gives local communities more control over proposed projects and require developers to address electricity costs and other impacts. Shapiro said the rules were needed after residents raised concerns about utility bills, environmental effects, and the impact of data centers on their local communities. This all sounds completely reasonable. The move follows New York Governor Kathy Hochul, the Democrat from New York, imposing a statewide pause of up to 1 year on new hyperscale data centers requiring 50 megawatts or more of power. Trump previously called the move a, quote, terrible decision, end quote, arguing that investment, jobs, and tax revenue could move to states more willing to host these said facilities. New research from Georgia Tech found that data centers can produce economic benefits for host counties, but those gains vary significantly by location. Metropolitan counties recorded larger increases in employment, wages, business activity, and household income, while rural communities saw more limited spillover benefits. The study also found that retail electricity prices rose about 5% in areas where the impact could be measured after a data center became operational. The researchers said communities should consider infrastructure costs, tax incentives, and electricity pricing when evaluating data center projects, rather than just focusing on the size of the investment. So we'll see if they're actually going to do this here. Again, I think there's going to be quite a bit of back and forth. CoreWeave, ticker CRWV, their CEO Mike Intrater said during the company's second quarter earnings call that data center moratoriums would not reduce demand for AI infrastructure, but could affect where projects are built. Quote, moratoriums, they're not going to impact the demand for infrastructure. They're going to impact where the infrastructure gets built, end quote. And again, that was from Intrater. CoreWeave said it had 4.2 gigawatts of contracted power, along with roughly 1.5 gigawatts of additional powered land options and letters of intent, giving the company visibility into nearly 6 gigawatts. The comments come as AI infrastructure investment continues to expand, while states and communities debate how to manage the industry's electricity, infrastructure, and of course, the economic impact. So, like I said, there's going to be a lot of back and forth in this. This is really only the beginning. And I also think that it would not be surprising to hear individual companies get mentioned in all of this too. That should cause opportunity, maybe not cause, but that should give us opportunities to trade some of these names in either. Let me just go through some of the comments here, because I'm sure this is going to be a poppin' one. Lion opposes data centers. No surprise there. We have to have someone to store all those pictures of pets. Brandy, I'm just going to come out right now. Guilty. Guilty. Not only do I take a lot of pictures and send a lot of pictures, I also post them in my work Slack here. We have a thread for pets. It's the best thread we have in our entire Slack. I absolutely love this. I am guilty of this 100%. And I don't know if this is a tongue-in-cheek comment here, but I actually think solar panels on the roof is not a bad idea for many of these things. Lion says if he were mayor, he'd ban them in his city. All right, there you go, folks. Do not vote for Lion, as he will keep more jobs and economic opportunity out of your city if he was your mayor. Yeah, Virginia Jane. Actually, I think I have a stat here coming up for you. People oppose nuclear plants a long time ago. I want a data center in my state, just not in my neighborhood. Jalen, I'll be, first of all, props to you for even saying that. I suspect that that's like 90+% of the opinion, right? Like no one wants to live right next to one, but yeah, you definitely want one around for all of the benefits that you get. I'm willing to bet that most people actually feel that way, whether they are going to admit it or not. Okay. Now, next story here. We'll get to the stat in a little bit. Next story here, though, this is going to be Elon Musk denies SpaceX sought to buy AI startup Cognition, says talks only centered on Grok. So this to me, somewhat interesting here. Let me go through the story here. SpaceX, or Space Exploration Technology Corporation, their CEO, Elon Musk, has denied that the commercial spaceflight company tried to acquire artificial intelligence startup Cognition AI. On Wednesday, Cognition CEO Scott Wu took to the social media platform X after Bloomberg reported that SpaceX had tried to acquire the company. Scott said, quote, "This is not true," end quote. Huge respect for the SpaceX team, but Cognition is not for sale, and we have not been talking. Now, you can see here real quick in the story that I'm sharing, Scott quote tweeted Rebecca Torrance, who said, "Scoop, SpaceX tried to acquire Cognition." Scoop? Maybe more like poop. Musk responded to Wu, backing the CEO's comments, saying, quote, "What Scott says is accurate," end quote. And he went on and added that SpaceX has not held conversations with Cognition about, quote, "anything except making sure Grok works well for their needs," end quote. Cognition was recently in talks of securing fresh funding, eyeing a $40 billion valuation as it plans to raise roughly $1 billion in the latest funding round. The company's last funding round in May valued the company at about $26 billion. Musk recently confirmed that the commercial spaceflight giant was recovering the Starship rocket following its 13th flight test from the Indian Ocean near Christmas Island after the rocket spent nearly 24 days at sea. Musk had earlier said that the rocket's recovery was looking difficult. On the other hand, Musk warned that an Ohio data center project backed by chip maker NVIDIA, ticker NVDA, and intended to support OpenAI could take much longer to bring online than expected, after reports emerged that the company was providing a guarantee of up to $105 billion tied to OpenAI's lease in the data center being developed by Japan's SoftBank. By the way, that's an OTC ticker, SFTBF and SFTBY. That's the owned SB Energy. So, there's surprise, a reporter reported something false about Elon Musk. Stop me if you've heard that before. It is what it is. Okay, next story here. This is going to be Viking Global shifts gears here. Andreas Halverson makes a $817 million bet on Ferrari and slashes the Tesla stake by 78%. Now, before we actually dive into this story, one of the reasons that I selected this is because in our happy hour group, we often take a look at race. And I got to be honest with you here, I made a huge mistake passing on this. Because for several days, a couple of weeks ago, maybe even almost a month ago at this point, probably closer to a month ago, I guess I could just look on the chart. Yeah, this was in July. We actually saw race. We've been charting this for a long time. And Ferrari here, again, the ticker is RACE, R-A-C-E. We're talking about the company Ferrari. Ferrari really kind of sold off from some of these highs. It actually looked like it put in a whole bunch of highs right around 500. This to me looks like a very stiff resistance level. But it came down into one of these support bands. We had actually charted some of these supply areas here. Ferrari came down nicely into this area, found some support, and then had this inverse head and shoulders pattern on the daily chart. Now, since then, it's actually started to curl back up. It broke the structure on a move to the upside. And while doing that, it continued to get above some of these moving averages. The notable one was the 200. So we punched above the 200. We traded back down and tested it. We lost it for like 2 sessions, found support at the 50, recaptured the 200, recaptured the 20, and now we've made a push back up to the 500. Now, the reason that I made such a bad mistake here is because we've actually been talking about this on a somewhat regular basis, maybe every other day. And one of our experienced 40-year veteran traders said when this thing broke through the 200, he said, in an ideal trade scenario, I'd love to see this come back in and test the 50 and hold it before then recapturing the 200 and moving higher. I look at the chart and I am flabbergasted because that's literally exactly what happened. We had this nice little punch through the 200. We came back in. Yeah, sure. We found some support there for a handful of sessions, but we broke that, found support at the 50, bounced hard, recaptured the 200, just like he said, and then also recaptured the 20. And now we've continued to trade up. Today, or yesterday, I should say, we closed at 425.18. That is actually above the 500-day moving average. One thing to check out here today, can the price hold 422? The reason that this is like so like that I'm like disappointed that I'm not in this right now is because look what we have coming up. If we break this 430, 431, we have a gap fill on this chart all the way up to like 480. And I wouldn't be surprised if the stock had massive strength in this, that it goes and retests that 500 really stiff resistance area that we've seen before. So to me, the chart is primed here. Oh my goodness. The actual trade was a hold of the 50, especially after the break of the 200 here. And now we're starting to make a pretty huge move. We're at another moving average right ahead of a gap fill. I will say Ferrari's options, not very liquid. So you're battling spread in there and you're if it moves against you, those are likely going to depreciate pretty quickly. Tough without volume in there. Might want to play this via the stock, but nonetheless, the chart is set up here. That is for sure. Now, let's get back to the story here because this is somewhat interesting, I think. Hedge fund giant Viking Global Investors, managed by billionaire Andreas Halvorsen, reallocated its equity portfolio in the second quarter. In a clear strategic move, the firm shifted gears in the automotive space by executing a massive $817 million bet on Ferrari, ticker RACE, R-A-C-E, while slashing its Tesla stake, ticker TSLA, by 78% as part of a wider portfolio realignment. According to the Vikings' latest second quarter 13F regulatory filing, the Stamford, Connecticut-based firm initiated a brand new position in luxury automaker Ferrari, picking up 2.2 million shares worth about $817 million. The luxury car maker instantly became one of Halvorsen's top equity holdings as of June 30th, and at the same time, Viking sharply scaled back its commitment to EV giant Tesla. The fund dumped over 1.94 million shares, cutting its position by 78%, but still holds on to 547,816 shares, which is still valued at $230.4 million. In the first quarter, Viking had held nearly 2.5 million shares, valued at $927 million. So it is a big cut down, but they still hold a fairly sizable position. Concurrently, Viking leaned heavily into automotive retail, expanding its Carvana stake by 343% to 12.3 million shares, and that position valued at $811 million. The steep Tesla reduction coincided with a significant exit from mega-cap technology staples and major industry sector swaps. Viking completely liquidated its $911.8 million stake in Apple by dumping all 3.59 million shares. We'll see if they end up regretting that. It's also fully dissolved its holdings in Alphabet, ticker GOOG, and AI infrastructure provider CoreWeave, ticker CRWV, while trimming Microsoft, ticker MSFT, by 37%. Viking Global's total reported 13F portfolio value adjusted slightly from $35.75 billion in the first quarter to $35.08 billion at the end of the second quarter, even as its total number of holdings expanded from 77 to 90 stocks. Now, before we move on from this, before we move, you got it, producer. Before we move on to this, I did want to share this chart. I had no good way of throwing this in the chat without this looking just entirely messy, so I opted not to do that. If anyone wants the chart for themselves, I'll go ahead and throw a link to the article here in the chat where you can go ahead and take this Do whatever you wish with it. But Viking Global reported the 13F portfolio. They adjusted these for they expanded from 77 to 90 stocks, excuse me. Apple here, remember, share change, that was minus 100%. These are the notable ones. New position in Ferrari, minus 78% in Tesla, minus 100% in CSX. That was not mentioned in the article, but that was also a pretty big change. They took a new position, 1.1 million shares in ticker MSCI. They completely liquidated PNC, which is one of the banks, one of the financial services. They took a new position in UNP. They sold some of their Carvana, and they sold about half of their Disney. All right, they sold about half of their Disney position as well. So I don't know if any of you follow Viking Global or anything like that, but pretty significant changes here in the 13F. Izzy, I will be covering Walmart here in a sec. I know we don't have I didn't have an article written by one of our writers, but I gotcha. Don't worry about that. That's coming up here. How are we doing on time, by the way? Oh, 8:30. We're going to be fine. We are going to be fine. Okay. Next article here, this one on Meta. And actually, before we go to that, let me go back to Pro. We'll take a quick peek at the Meta chart here. We had another discussion on HAB. We've discussed this stock a bunch too. You folks actually discussed this quite a bit here in the morning. I know several of you trade it. Looking at you, Bigabees, but I know several of you folks trade Meta. One of the things that we were saying about Meta recently is that we kind of don't like this. And I'm in complete agreement with this. Of all of the Mag 7 stocks, this is my least favorite. This is the one that I would sell first if I owned all of them, which I do not. Meta here, this chart also looks awfully precarious. This is a former resistance level back from the summer of 2024. We've actually traded around this level a few times, and we've actually changed the direction where the stock is trading. And if you look to like more recently here for 2026, this sure looks like a support level that got banged into 4 separate times, with the most recent being pretty much now. Now, if this ends up breaking, I don't know. I'd like to get some opinions from the group, both if you're bullish and bearish on Meta. But to me, I feel like there's a lot of air here. Right? I feel like this stock could really come in. Yeah, sure. Maybe it does find some support a little bit here at like 477, 480, maybe. But honestly, I could see it filling this gap down here to 400, 397, 400 area. Stock, that's 144 points away from where we're at right now. So the chart kind of in a precarious spot here on Meta, but Meta's AI spending could unlock abundant revenue, according to an analyst. Again, I want to kind of give you both sides of this. My opinion on Meta is bearish. I have no positions. So it's very easy for me to have that outlook on it. But Nick Jones here thinks that this actually might be a good time to own Meta. Meta Platforms, ticker META, their stock traded higher by almost 1% during Thursday's pre-market session as risk appetite firms up into the open. Nasdaq futures were up earlier, but are since lower. Now, the big tech giant is scaling its AI infrastructure and developing new ways to monetize artificial intelligence as it looks to strengthen advertising growth, expand revenue sources, and eventually improve margins despite elevated capital spending. And I also really think that the capital spending here on Meta, probably more fearful in terms of Meta than other companies. But BNP Paribas analyst Nick Jones expects Meta to continue delivering robust earnings growth as it monetizes its AI investments. The analyst reiterated an outperform rating on Meta with an $855 price forecast, implying about 57% upside from the stock's August 18th price of $543.70. He said Meta's aggressive AI investments could generate, quote, abundant revenue, end quote, over time, and that helps justify the company's rising capital spending. That's the hope, of course. He sees durable growth in the company's core advertising business, complemented over time by subscription revenue, a potential cloud offering, and fees from allowing external customers to use Meta's AI models. Jones said Meta currently needs all of its computing capacity internally and does not expect excess capacity in the near term. Management views monetizing AI intelligence as financially more attractive than selling raw computing power, and Meta could offer cloud capacity if its internal requirements fall short of expectations, although management expects any such arrangements to remain short-term or strategic. Jones highlighted Meta's opportunity along small and medium-sized businesses. Management believes AI-powered tools can help smaller companies create more personalized advertising at scale, potentially unlocking additional digital advertising spending. Meta also continues to see robust advertising demand despite some macroeconomic pressures. The company plans to begin manufacturing its internally designed Meta Training and Inference Accelerator, also called MTIA chips, MTIA, in September. It currently uses MTIA for inference workloads that improve recommendations and rankings, with plans to broaden its applications over time. Jones expects Meta's capital expenditures to continue expanding through 2027, but believes the investments will generate enough revenue over time to justify said spending. Meta management expects operating income to increase in dollar terms in 2026, although results may fluctuate from year to year. Combined with continued cost discipline, Jones expects margin expansion to resume as AI-driven revenue growth scales. So, look, I don't particularly like this. I'm wrong often. What do you folks think about Meta? Here, Jason Maxon, stay away from Meta. I'll be honest, Jason, that is mostly the opinion that I have. I don't really care for this. I don't like the advertising business myself. So it's hard for me to get on board with the thesis, but I want to bring you as much of that as you can. Don't you see they're trying to save their stock right now? I'm not trying to be a bear here, but careful, folks. Look, if being a bear is not a bad thing. I know sometimes it gets a bad rap. Being a perma bear is a bad thing. Being a perma bull is a bad thing. But being a bear for having these feelings, I think that's totally normal. And like I said, Jason, I am in the camp that you're in. There's no question about that. Izzy, Meta has too much around it with kids and all. There's more of that too. That's not even mentioned in the article, Izzy. But there's aren't they going through like a court case right now where they've created things that are like super addictive to kids and all of that stuff? Like there's a lot of headwinds here that I don't love, and I don't see, like, the bull case doesn't move me. It's just not. It doesn't. That's the best way I can describe it. It just doesn't move me. I don't know. Not a huge fan of Zuck either. So it is what it is. But if you guys have a bull case on this, I'd be happy to listen to it. Okay. Now, next story here. This is going to be on Snow, Mongo Database, and Palantir. And more broadly, the SaaS apocalypse that we've talked about in the past. Is SaaS losing its edge? Futurum Equities says 95% of software cloud could become AI plumbing. So you're telling me then that the AI infrastructure trade that we've literally been banging the drum on and Tim Melvin has been screaming from the top of his lungs is the winning trade? Oh, okay. Good to know we were in the right spot. Following a brutal first quarter software sell-off, also dubbed the SaaS apocalypse, where the market painted software stocks as clear AI losers, that narrative has drastically shifted. A recent analysis by Futurum Equities deconstructs the entire turnaround. According to experts like Shea Ballure, Sam Badwadi, and Logical Thesis, 95% of SaaS isn't entirely dead, but it will fundamentally transform into the back-end, quote, AI plumbing, end quote, powering new enterprise workflows. The market panic stemmed from fears that large language models would replace enterprise software. However, the analysts argue that while human interfaces may vanish, the underlying work, like querying data, checking permissions, and running workloads, will actually multiply. Quote, 95% of software will become the plumbing layer of the neogentic AI stack, end quote. And that was from Shea Ballure. For Snowflake, ticker SNOW, a consumption-based model means that even if fewer employees are needed, quote, the number of queries are going to quadruple, end quote. That was noted by Logical Thesis. AI agents still need massive organizational context to make useful decisions, making data infrastructure hyper-critical. Despite their bullishness on the underlying businesses, the analysts issued harsh verdicts on current stock valuations. Snowflake now trading at a massive 150 times earnings, Ballure noted that he doesn't see what near-term earnings surprise could justify the stock's premium, leading to a bearish consensus on Snow's immediate price action. As far as Mongo database goes, ticker MDB, of course, that faced more criticism, receiving a bearish sweep from the experts due to intense competition from open source alternatives like free Postgres. Ballure offered a brutal assessment from the field, stating that while the product is sticky, quote, every engineer I talk to hates it, end quote. And let me just tell you something from my own personal experience. And again, I'm not a professional developer, although I seem to have developed that as a hobby. What he's saying here about engineers hating it, I'm telling you right now, if the engineers, the people that have to use these systems hate it, there's a big giant ticking clock above that subscription. They are not going to stay with that, especially as we get more and more competition and more things that can do something similar. You got to make the experience good for the people that use it every day. One of the reasons the AI large language models are so good at coding is because coders made them. What do you think they did first? They made it easier to code, of course. Meanwhile, Palantir Technologies, ticker PLTR, ignited a heated debate over whether any software stock deserves a hyper-premium valuation. While Bhatwadi dubbed Palantir, quote, the software of AI, end quote, alongside NVIDIA's hardware, Logical Thesis dismissed Palantir as merely an LLM wrapper, lacking proprietary technology outside its government moat. I've tried to uncover the true identity of Logical Thesis. I thought it was Lion Atlas, but my efforts have not been successful. All right. Just kidding there, Lion. That's all for you. We're just having some fun here. Now, Izzy, you wanted to talk about Walmart. Walmart reported earnings here today. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on. Let me see what my producer. Okay, cool. I don't know why I just said okay, cool, and then typed it to my producer. It is what it is. Producer, just deal with it. All right, Walmart. Walmart. All right, Walmart reported earnings. Ooh, it's actually gotten worse here today. It was down about 6.5%. When we first started the show, down about 7.25% here now. If we take a look, oh boy. All right, if we take a look at the daily chart, the current price of 106, and it is literally trying to hold 106 to the penny. This is beneath this structure that we have. So we actually have a break of structure to the downside here on Meta. Watch this one. Meta, excuse me, Walmart. Oh gosh. Too many tickers. My apologies. Walmart, ticker WMT. To me, it sure looks like the next area down here is probably this 98. Now, we do have the 500-day in the middle there, 103. But I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of overshoot that. Now, I don't know if it's going to go down there today. Perhaps you do get a little bit of a dead cat bounce. This is what the chart looks like inside, Izzy. We had the impulse move. We kind of consolidated. And then it looked like we're trying to take the next leg lower, which not great if we end up doing that here. Not great. Now, I did go through Walmart's report here. I did not have a ton of time this morning when I was preparing for the show. So if I miss something here, help me out. Let me know what you folks thought of the report, especially those that went through it. But Walmart's fiscal Q2, the quarter ended in July. That Q2 came in ahead of Wall Street's numbers, but the stock reaction tells actually a more complicated story than the headline print does. As you can see right here, like this was a beat on the top and the bottom line. On the top and the bottom line, the revenue hit $187.9 billion. That was up 5.9% against consensus of about $186.9 billion. The adjusted EPS of 81 cents beat the 74-cent estimate comfortably, and GAAP EPS was lower at 80 cents, with an adjusted number backing out a 12-cent net loss on equity and other investments and an 11-cent tax benefit. So that clean number that we talked about, it's actually a bit noisier than the usual quarter, with the two items roughly offsetting each other. Now, the most important thing to understand in this release is going to be the tariff refund dynamic. A shout out to Kathy, by the way, who from the very beginning here was already kind of looking at what tariff refunds might do. Now, things are going well here with corporate earnings. Some folks argue that the tariff refunds are one of the reasons that the earnings are so good, but it's important to understand this dynamic. Operating income grew 28.8% as reported, but only 17.4% on an adjusted constant currency basis. And management was explicit that the gap includes tariff refunds received in the quarter, partially offset by price investments. So if you strip out the net effect and the underlying operating income growth, it was still at the top end of the guidance. It was genuinely solid, But Walmart is telling investors it plans to keep plowing the remaining tariff refunds into price cuts rather than banking them as margin in the back half of the year. That arguably is the single most consumer relevant sentence in the entire release. Walmart is choosing price investment over margin capture, which is a tell about how much competitive consumer pressure they're actually feeling. Now, gross margin rate rose 96 basis points. That was led by Walmart USA, but the filing flags that this was primarily driven by the tariff refund timing rather than a clean structural improvement. So don't read that margin expansion as fully repeatable. And I think that's one of the reasons you're seeing the stock sell off today. Now, Walmart comment on the consumer. As for the consumer, the picture is one of resilience rather than exuberance. U.S. comparable sales were up about 2.6%, and the strength was broad-based across grocery, personal care, beauty, pets, toys, and fashion, categories that suggest steady discretionary spending, not just pantry stocking. Reporting around this print also noted continued trade-down behavior, including higher-income shoppers increasingly shopping Walmart for value, which is consistent with a softer overall consumer backdrop. Now, the interesting part about that is that if you recall, when we had Kava earnings a couple of weeks ago, Kava said that customers of all income brackets were actually trading up. So it seems like when they're going out to eat at, like, I guess Kava is considered fast casual. When they're going out to eat there, they're actually making choices to trade up. Now, with Kava, that's a little bit interesting because you could argue that there's a health angle there that may not be there if you were going to someplace like McDonald's or Wendy's or something like that. Okay, maybe that's the case. But to me, it just kind of shows that the consumer is, in fact, resilient. But even in some cases, they're still going to make choices to spend more money. And I think with that, we're not at like a panic spot yet. That's, I think, my big takeaway from this. Now, Walmart telling you that even affluent customers are trading down. Look, that totally makes sense too. If you can get product A for cheaper than product A at a different store that's the same, that's just more expensive, you do that. So I don't know that I don't know what I still want to say that the consumer is resilient. I don't know that there's more of a takeaway than that. Izzy, let me know what you thought of the Walmart report if you went through it, or were you just looking at the chart? You'll have to let me know on all of that. And then also, is anyone trading Walmart here today? Is anyone looking to trade Walmart today? Are you buying the dip here? Are you maybe waiting for this 500 to get tested, maybe broken and recaptured? What are your thoughts on Walmart as a trade? I can't remember. I want to say that there was a lot of option activity going into this. But I actually don't have, I'm sorry, I don't have those stats in front of me. Steve says he's buying puts. Okay, let's take a look at the inside here. So, Steve, one of the things that I would have loved to have seen for the put trade here on Walmart, I would have actually loved if this second leg down did not happen in the pre-market. I would have much rather seen this kind of trade sideways into the open and then give us kind of that shelf to trade against. In other words, if we were to break out of the top side here, maybe call it 108 and then back test it, perhaps there's a long side trade. And on the flip side here, if it broke out from maybe broke down, from maybe 106, 106 and a half, then maybe and a back test, then maybe a put trade. Now it is at 106 here, so it's basically at the bottom end. So you're looking for a break of structure and a move lower, it sounds like, for the put trade. Lion says resilient for how long? 60% of Americans are broke. I don't think that's what the data shows. I think there's definitely some pressure, but I think the resilience is different than broke. Okay. Brandy says my coffee inflation meter is through the roof, $8.99 to $16.50 in 18 months for store brand. Brandy, you need a new metric, bro. You need to go to Costco. I think the coffee that I buy from Costco in like the big 3-pound bag of whole beans, I'm pretty sure that's up maybe $1 tops, maybe $1. So I actually don't pay a whole lot more for coffee, despite the price increases, but Costco just absolutely wins the day. And I'm kind of tongue in cheek about the metric. I mean, viewing anything that you buy on a regular basis is a good idea for measuring measuring the price increase. Anyway, all right, producer, you ready? Let's do a street tweet. You ready for that? Let's go ahead and do a street tweet. Now, this one, I want to get a discussion going here. I know you guys kind of had a discussion earlier when we were talking about the data center story that led in the A block there, but this tweet is going to be reminiscent of that. I want to hear both sides of this. And I'm sorry, Jane, I know that you were going off earlier just because I had to go through some of the news there. I did not see all of that comment, so I'm not ignoring or anything like that. I just simply didn't see all of the back and forth from the chat earlier. We'll try and do that now. Street Tweets is right now. All right. Positive data center news. And in Virginia's Loudoun County, expects $1.3 billion in data center tax revenue for next year. This helps the residents' property taxes by roughly 30% over the past decade. So I know that there was comments in the story in the A block about how these can actually benefit you. I know there definitely seems to be some going back and forth. Jane, I think the last comment that I saw from you was that you don't want these things near you. Again, I want them close enough to benefit the community, but I don't want to live right next to it. No, of course not. But what do you folks think about this? For those that, I guess it's going to be different. If you already have experience around some of these data centers, you probably have a pretty formed opinion at this point. But for those that maybe don't deal with this, how do you feel about this? In my case, we have had a data center here for near me. And when I say near, it's about I would say probably a 10-minute drive on the expressway. So it's not like I can't walk there. It's not that local. I have to get on the expressway going 75 to get there in 10 minutes. But I got to say that I don't think that I notice it. I know as far as the electricity costs go, which I know is one of the big things here, as far as the electricity costs go, I notice the change of the seasons like exponentially more than any data center being added. It's like when I have to run my air conditioner, my bill is higher. In the winter, I don't have to run my heat as much. My computer produces a lot of heat into the place. I don't know. I just, to me, I don't see it yet. And we've had one here for a bit. Jane says, lol, it's okay, Ryan. Most people stay away from certain subjects with me. No, that's not the point, though. I definitely don't want to stay away from that. I think that getting more opinions about this entire thing is going to be important. And especially like I was saying earlier, to me, this is going to be a big midterms thing. So I think you're going to hear more and more of like the extreme on both sides about why this is good and why this is bad. Jane went on to say, most people in Loudoun County are not happy and property values have started to decrease. I'd be curious to see how long that actually lasts, right? How long are they going to continue to decrease? I guess is the way to say that. Are those property values going to continue to decrease? Ryan, you were in the same network as Virginia called PJM. It's the grid for 13 states. Okay, well then if the grid is spread across 13 states, is one data center in one state actually going to make that much of a difference? I don't know that I feel it. Perhaps you do. I mean, that's totally possible. Lion says, I don't want them near me. Lion, I'm not surprised to hear that. I'm not surprised to hear that at all. I think it would be really funny if within eyeshot of your restaurant, they built a huge data center and painted a picture of Trump's face on the side. I don't know how you'd even recover from that, frankly, but that would actually be kind of funny too. Brandy here says, data centers are okay as long as they're done right. And Brandy, okay, I think that is hitting the nail on the head, like literally hitting the nail on the head. If a data center moves into an area and there's no thought about how they're going to consume water or how they're going to handle the power and all of that, that's an example of not being done right. And I can absolutely see how that's going to adversely affect the community living around it. But to your point here, if you make plans for these things and they're done right, there's actual benefit that can be extracted around this. So I think that this is going to be one of those things where you can't just slap these things together. Right? Like you're going to have to actually plan this out correctly and do a good job for this to actually show a benefit. Westcap says Virginia is the data center capital. Well, I've heard that before too. And again, perhaps it's just at the spot where there's just too many of those. Perhaps that's why Jane has the opinion that she has. Maybe it's more. Maybe you're more likely to feel an impact, either positive or negative, the more that you have there. Lion says, count me as extreme on the negative side. Lion, I only have you in the extreme categories, and most of those are on the negative side, except when you're telling jokes and having a good time. So no problem there. No problem there. Samaritan says the chips are outdated. By the time the data center is ready. See, we're hearing pushback on that too. We're actually hearing that these chips have a longer lifespan than some people initially talked about. The community should be involved with the infrastructure, not letting them come in and kind of take over. Westcap, I think, Brandy, I'd like to get your opinion on that. You were just saying they have to be done right. Is Westcap hitting one of those things? They shouldn't be able to come in and take over the area. That seems totally reasonable. Videos, watch online. I am on ComEd real-time electric pricing, and notice as all the data centers are being built in the PJM region, rates are unpredictable, sometimes hitting $3 per kilowatt versus ComEd's fixed rate of 10.9 cents. That's crazy. You know what I'll do, videos, now that we've kind of talked about this, and as I've hypothesized that this is going to be a midterm kind of cycle, I might start paying attention to that and seeing if I can get my own data on data centers. We'll see. We'll see about that. GTA 6 unfiltered. If we're going to drain the whole world for all of its fresh water, we need to just forget about AI then. I don't think that's going to happen. I think a lot of those environmental predictions about the end of the world, none of them have come true. I'm not ready to be on that side. Again, I think that you can kind of fold this into the doing it right scenario that Brandy was kind of mentioning earlier. Jane says they need to declare a moratorium in Virginia, so no more data centers. Let them go elsewhere. So if it's the data center capital of the world, perhaps we should spread these out. That to me seems like doing it right, to be quite honest with you. So anyway, this is, like I said, thanks for the conversation here, folks. This is not going to be the end of it. That much I can assure you. This is absolutely not going to be the end of the data center discussion. And again, I advise you folks, please keep in mind that this is going to affect midterms, and there's going to be back and forth across all of it. Kathy saying there's significant noise from the cooling systems. Not sure how you get around that and how it wouldn't affect property values. You know what's funny about that, Kathy? They said the same thing about highways, right? And then they came up with these sound barriers that really negated that for those that have to live very, very close. But ultimately, kind of going back to what we originally said, yeah, you kind of want them around, but maybe not right next door. Don't need to hear the cooling system 24/7 for a data center. That much. I am in complete agreement with you there. I'm in complete agreement with you there. Okay, let's get back to Pro here. Folks, I promised you an interview. And that's what we do around here. We deliver on our promises. So that's what we're going to do right here. It is let me go ahead and remove this. Thank you, producer. You're the man. It is my pleasure to welcome Fusion Fuel Green CEO Federico Figueira de Chaves. And you'll have to let me know if I got that name right. Let's go ahead and bring him on. Federico, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me on today. Your pronunciation was perfect.
It was. Okay, I was going to say I have to I'm a big stickler on the names. I want to get the names right. I can't pronounce everyone's name correctly, so I want to be corrected if I got it wrong. But I'm glad I was at least able to get that correct here. That's awesome. So, thanks for joining us here. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you. Really excited to be on.
Okay, excellent. Let's just dive right into this right off the top here. Federico, can you please tell us more about Fusion Fuel Green? And for those that are not familiar with the company, and by the way, I kind of dropped the ball on this. The ticker for this company is HTOO. Can you tell us more about Fusion Fuel?
Sure, absolutely. So Fusion today is a diversified energy platform. So we own a portfolio of independent energy businesses spanning from royalties, production, engineering, and distribution across 4 regions and 4 different fuel types. So we're involved in gas in Dubai, we're involved in biomass in South Africa, hydrogen in Europe, and uranium and gas in the Americas. So we are, I would say, full service energy business. Just before you were talking about data centers, we all know how important energy is just across the board, including there. And we cover it, pretty holistically. Now, I will note that for those, some people might be familiar with Fusion. The company started as a hydrogen technology manufacturer, electrolyzer manufacturer. And unfortunately, in 2024, we had to close that business down. We wrote it all off and so on. And we've been pretty busy until now to basically right the ship and do our turnaround. And that's why I'm so excited to be here, because finally we're in a point where we can start talking about that. But the big thing that we've done is we've stayed focused on energy, but on capital light, so CapEx light investments and exposure to energy. So we all know that the energy game is a massive CapEx game. It's investments across the board. But we are looking specifically, and the verticals we will have are ways that we can grow in energy without needing massive amounts of capital. So it's now been working. We had 2024, we had revenues of 1.6 million. Last year we euros. Last year we posted revenues of 14.5. We're on track to hit the 20 million this year and 25 million next year. So that's what we do. We're energy diversified, but CapEx light. That is really the key of what Fusion Fuel is.
So first of all, I love a good turnaround story. In fact, as a trader, I mean, I'm very into the whole like technology aspect and energy and data centers. I'm into this whole thing just kind of personally. But as a trader, some of my best long-term trades have actually come on turnaround stories. So this is exciting for me as well. And it's been nice to see the kind of the sharp reversal in some of those revenues there. Now, one of the reasons we wanted to bring you on today is you actually had some news here today. I'm going to read the title here of the press release, but I want you to tell us about this. So Fusion Fuel announces approximately a 1.4 million in new LPG engineering subcontracts signed in Dubai, UAE, with a potential annual utility revenue of up to $1 million. So first of all, congratulations on the contract announcement early this morning. Can you please tell us more about this?
Sure, absolutely. So this comes from our HTOO business out in Dubai. And what we do there is we firstly do all of the engineering around installing LPG systems, pipelines, and so on in buildings. So in this case, what we've signed and what we've announced is we are installing the pipeline and infrastructure, gas infrastructure, for nearly 3,500 residential units in Dubai. Now, this is the third such contract we signed this year. So in total, we're actually on $3.7 million US dollars of engineering contracts this year. Why this is so exciting for us is not the sort of one-off engineering contract. Is that what happens with these contracts is that after we install them, after we build them, we get the contract to do the long-term supply of that gas. So the 1.4 million and these 3.7 are only the start of that relationship. So what we see in our business, our HTOO, as I said, did about 14.5 million euros, nearly $17 million of revenue last year, is most of it is recurring revenue. So what we announced today is a predictable measure of our growth in the future. So all of these 3,500 apartments will end up buying the gas from us in the future. So this is not a one-off. This is actually allowing people to see the predictable growth that's coming in this business.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, what does this mean for your company? And if there's something here that I'm missing, but it sounds to me like what this means is that this is the start of a whole bunch of recurring revenue for you for who knows how long, the long term.
That's absolutely right. So these 3,500, as I said, that's a third of all the new contracts, but those, that will take us from 17 to 20 million of revenue just in the HTOO business alone and growth. So this is basically, it's mapping out the growth, allowing us to reach our revenue targets that we've announced. It's all contracted and it's all now just an execution. That's why it's so exciting.
Okay, awesome. I for one hope that you can execute. Look, let me change gears here a little bit. You just closed Royal Uranium's acquisition. How does uranium fit within Fusion Fuel's strategy, and how significant could the royalty portfolio become to the company's overall valuation?
Yeah, great question, and massive. And we think people don't fully understand it. So I'm glad to have the chance to brief it. So we are technology agnostic energy platform, as I mentioned. So we see uranium and nuclear energy as a core pillar of of the energy demand that needs to be serviced in the world. There's currently 441 operable reactors, 79 under construction, another 124 also being planned. And already today, the uranium supply can't match the demand. So when these new reactors come online, there's even going to be a bigger supply chain problem. So we see uranium as a core part of that sort of energy exposure. Now, why we did the Royal Uranium transaction is that we saw this as the best way to get capex light exposure to uranium. Again, uranium mining, super expensive, super capital intensive, you need hundreds of millions to execute it. The royalty, we're sitting on these contracts that are perpetual, they don't expire. And as those mines that in the past, 10, 20 years ago, the uranium price didn't justify them being developed, but now absolutely they're economical to develop. As those developments mature, as our, shall we say, we have the operators, we're talking about Cameco, Orano, Uranium Energy Corp, ISO Energies, leading guys in the field, as they develop those sites, the value of our contract, the value of that asset just keeps increasing. So we saw that as a great way to get exposure to uranium. Again, following our investment thesis of capex light. We have, just to give you an idea, we have an independent valuation of that portfolio that is of $30 million. Our market cap today is of 16.6. So just the raw uranium portfolio is worth more than our market cap. That's not even accounting for the other three businesses. So we see this as a massive potential for the company. Now,
and you're in early. It seems like you're kind of getting ahead of this, and you're getting in early. You're positioning yourself at the right point in the timeline here.
So we bought them early. We have great partners. Most of those companies that I mentioned before are in our cap table because they came with that acquisition. So we have great shareholders as well in this space. And now what we see and how we look at that portfolio is we're looking at a UROI, those kind of sort of dedicated royalty companies. And we know that one day, a few years from now, the spin-off is totally possible as that value sort of matures to really make a significant sort of shareholder value from this. So we believe revenue and so on will keep coming from our Al-Shwala businesses, our hydrogen businesses, and so on. But the real sort of asset value, I shouldn't use the word explosion when talking about uranium, but real appreciation is going to come from this raw uranium portfolio. So we're super excited about it. We think it's completely undervalued today. The market doesn't understand it, but you just need to look at our competitors to see that we have something great there.
Yeah, and that meets your diversified strategy that you talked about earlier. You also talked earlier about kind of transforming, right? So Fusion Fuel has undergone a significant transformation from a pure play in green hydrogen into broader energy and industrial services platform. What does the company ultimately look like 3 to 5 years from now? And which businesses do you expect to drive the majority of revenue and profitability?
Sure. So I'll start with everything we do. Each of the verticals has to be independently profitable. And even the raw uranium already, it has 3 royalties that are producing. It covers its costs. It is profitable already. So that is a core point. CapEx light and profitable for each of the royalties, each of the verticals. So the way we see it is we want to expand those verticals, and we want to make sure that each of them can also grow substantially themselves. Right? We see a lot of potential in the growth of Al-Shwala, continued growth on that side. We're seeing growing at about 20-25% a year. Bright High, our hydrogen business, last year was 0 revenues. This year will be over 2 million. Next year, we're expecting over 4 million just with what's contracted already. So we're seeing substantial revenue growth from both Al-Shwala, Bright High. Our biomass business in South Africa, that produces about 750 of revenue per year. But the beauty of it is it's easy to scale up.
Mhm.
So it has no employees, has one project, but we already have 8 more in discussion. So again, capex light, not much to take the growth. So we expect those 3 businesses to drive our revenue growth. Those businesses will take us, to over 30, 40 million of revenues in the next 3 to 5 years, easily without any sort of big structural changes. The Royal Uranium is where we see massive sort of balance sheet value being generated, right? As these royalties, as these sites get developed, a single royalty can be worth tens of millions just from maturing from one stage to another. Okay. So we see that the balance of the 2 values there. Now, the other part here is that we are being shown a lot of very large and interesting deals continuously. People have realized that we have a very solid underlying now base and foundation. We have no toxic warrants, no toxic debt. We have a cap table which is now 70% sort of institutional and solid, and we're undervalued. And so people are bringing us deals of companies that want to go public, and so seeing on a constant basis. Now, we have the benefit that with 4 profitable verticals, we can wait. Now that the turnaround is done, we had to do a series of capital raises, but now that phase of our business is done, and actually just recently sort of put to bed, we now can just grow the businesses with the exciting sort of portfolio that we have, while we're shown opportunities. We've proven to be patient and to only bring what we think really fits our investment thesis: energy, capex light, and profitable. We expect to grow both organically and inorganically, but with those continuing with those principles.
Okay. Now, for investors looking at HTOO today, that's of course the ticker for Fusion Fuels here. What do you believe the market is currently misunderstanding or undervaluing about Fusion Fuel? And what catalysts over the next 12 to 18 months could potentially change that perception?
Sure. So I think the first thing is that the market is still looking at us as a company that effectively stopped existing in November 2024. Some people still bucket us in the electrolyzer business, which we haven't been in nearly 2 years, and they see us as a sort of a turnaround. So they see a company in difficulty and so on. That's no longer the case, and why we're so excited to be here now. We're actually rebranding to Fusion Elements to also mark that in our as a major milestone as we're coming out of this. People don't understand the full sum of the parts of the portfolio. I mentioned before that Royal Uranium alone was valued at 30 million. We've made that public. But when you take in the rest of the group, we should be at about 3 times where our market cap is today. What will happen is that people haven't been seeing much of our financials because we're foreign issuer. We only issue, we do the mid-year and the full year. Mm-hmm. So in May was the first time that we put any sort of figures that were normalized, and just as we will continue to do so, I think the market will realize that we exist. The figures are not sort of the 1.5 million business that used to be in 2024 and so on. That we are now in 20 plus million of revenue, profitable businesses with the turnaround sort of behind us. So I think as we continue to execute on these contracts, as we continue to report our figures, which are now sort of look nothing like the past, and as that comes through, basically the market will start to recognize. We already see people on the private side and the deal side recognizing and coming to talk to us because they see the mismatch of value. They see an arbitrage opportunity here. So, part of what we're doing now, and it kicks off with us here today, is actually really coming to tell the market that we exist, and turnaround is done, and we're pretty excited about the revenue and the potential that we have.
Okay, awesome. Now, look, one of the reasons I'm here able to talk to you is because of the viewers that opt to show up every single day. I like to try to give them an opportunity to ask some of the questions. I got two here. We've got less than a minute, but I want to try and slip these in here. Math is asking, this is an interesting company. When do you believe that you'll be EBITDA positive? Is it any time in 2027 or 2028?
Yeah, for sure, 2027. Again, all four of the businesses are profitable already. So what we now have to do is make sure that they can cover the overhead of the listed company, let's call it. The joys of being listed is what I call it. But now we have gone through the turnaround. We've already paid off the acquisition costs and so on. So 2026 will not be reporting. We will be reporting a net loss, mainly driven by the legacy that we've closed out earlier in this year, plus the transaction from Royal Uranium. But 2027, we've announced that we fully expect to be net income positive.
Okay,
already,
awesome.
On a run rate, towards the end of this year.
And a last question here, and again, really, really quickly, about that Southern EU hydrogen project. How are you able to get the cost of producing hydrogen down? And what do you see as the future of hydrogen that's not only costly to produce, but like difficult to store and manage?
So the beauty for us is that what we're doing is we're partnering up with the industrials.
Mm-hmm.
For example, in this case, we're building one for a cement company. In this case, the cost of hydrogen is roughly about 0.2% of their overall fuel costs. They need the hydrogen to spike the heat that they get from burning biomass. The only way they can reduce their carbon footprint is by using more biomass. Biomass has a lower heating value, so they need more hydrogen to actually pump up that heat. So actually, they're not price sensitive. The hydrogen project we're doing for that cement company, its payoff is in 1.5 years. For a cement company, that is unreal, right? They usually think in decades in their investment cycle. So where we see the future of hydrogen is in small projects for industrial users. There's no storage. We put our hydrogen. Actually, we do the hydrogen and oxygen, by the way, because when we split the H2O, we take both of those, we put it into the furnace, so there's no storage. That's where we see the real economic value of hydrogen. Well, I love hydrogen, been around it for 6 years, but I think the big projects are still, I want to say sort of a decade away from really being economically viable in a serious manner.
Gotcha. Okay. That is awesome. Thank you. And thank you for the extra time here. Thank you for joining us today, Federico. I look forward to more updates from you and your team here. I really appreciate you joining us this morning.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Really, really awesome stuff there. That is, I'm going to try to get the name right again. Federico Figueira de Chaves, one of the best names that we've ever had here on PreMarket Playbook, without a doubt. Really great stuff there. Thank Federico for waking up with us and actually taking questions here from the chat. Thank you, chat, for all of that. Really, really good stuff there. Okay, folks, I know we're a little bit behind on time, so I am going to try and speed this up for you. Thankfully, 13 is rearing to go. Let's go ahead and bring him on and see how he's doing. 13, how are you today?
Good morning. I thought you were going to get through some tweets or whatever, but hey, here I am.
I already
folks.
did the
Good
tweets,
morning.
man. Look, okay. I knew what was going on. I knew that the agenda was stacked here today. The tweets are done. We actually had a great discussion on data centers from the tweets, so that was awesome too. Look,
I like that guest. That was was very interesting information. And the interesting thing about that hydrogen, that last part there, hydrogen kind of as a supplement to other fuels needing higher heat output. That's not something I thought about. That's interesting.
Okay. Look, this is why we do these. This is why I like doing these interviews so much. You get to hear directly from the people that are involved. Make your own decision. Again, we cannot thank Federico enough for waking up and joining us here today. Now, 13, we are really, really pressed for time. We've got 12 minutes here. Are there any stocks that you are prepared to cover right now that we can kind of start with?
We can just hit the ground running. I mean, there's a few that are moving right now. I'm sure somebody just mentioned HUIZ. Hey, good morning, everybody. HUIZ. This is still trading above VWAP. It's leaning on it as support. Could use some more volume. That's one of the names that's standing out here. We might actually be getting a move from SGLY. another of the movers. That's Singularity Future Tech.
Yeah, and remember, this is one that Sami Abusad on Tuesday said we were looking for a short and a move lower, and boy, oh boy, did we end up getting that. Seems like it's kind of bouncing back here today. I'd actually watch this for like a break of structure in here and a move to the upside. All right, 13, I need to step away for 1 sec here. Is there any stock in particular that you'd like me to put up on screen?
Just choose one, and I'll just say what I can about it.
Okay. Well, with
there it is. We2. All right. Cool.
Do you want to do We2 or
Sure.
Okay. Let's do that. I'll be right back here. We got an oldie but goodie, I suppose you could say, with We2. Be right back.
All right. So this one, after having a wild week earlier this week, is still not finished, and it's getting some support from some of these daily EMAs, the lower ones like the 9 and the 15, after getting rejected from the 65. So looks like we did try to attempt to fill a gap. Let me go to my other chart here. It might show me some other things that I'm not seeing in my broker. So, okay, because my broker is not split adjusted, but Pro there is not a gap. But in Pro, we are coming down to a support area that we broke out of. It was resistance. That was back on August 17th. So according to Pro's chart here, we are coming into some support. My broker's telling me that we have already started to come into that support. So maybe we're getting a turnaround here. Just, I'm just going to put it out there. Be very careful with this thing. It's still the same junky name that we were trading earlier this week. It still has that very low float. It can still rip and do crazy things to the upside, and it can still do wildly depressing things to the downside. So just keep that in mind if you are going to choose to trade this. It does move very well. It has some very, very high short interest, but it's only 1 day to cover, and that's just the result of the split. So again, trade this if you feel like it, but understand what you're trading. This is it's still the same junky stock that has been getting pulled around in both directions. It's still a low float. It can still put in some great moves, but it's not one that I think anybody should be sticking around in.
Okay. Really good stuff there on WETO. Now, I know we talked a little bit about SKHY. That looks like it might be breaking the structure. Oh, the one thing I wanted to check here on HTOO, this is 72 million market cap and a float of 24. So although it's a China name, it's not similar to some of the other China runners that we've seen here recently. BCTC, I noticed that this was up, but I didn't check into why. This was a penny stock yesterday that made a huge run and then into the after hours. Looks like it's pulling back here a little bit today. Let me see what the news is here. Otherwise, I think this one might be, nothing fresh here. This was just moving with the crypto stuff from yesterday. So I'd be careful on this one here today. Did you have something else on this? Sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, the description about it is that it's got to focus on Bitcoin mining. It's a ledger technology. So if Bitcoin's going to rise, so will this. I think that's the easiest way to look at it. Bitcoin goes up, so does this.
Now, Bitcoin, by the way, speaking of that, Bitcoin is up 5.25% today. It did hit a high of 72,590 on the futures. That's for BTC. But we'll see how it trades here today. Okay. Beam, I noticed, was on this, and there's a catalyst here. Beam Global shares are trading higher after the company reported better than expected Q2 financial results. This took the stock from about $1.21. Looks like we had about a double top between yesterday's after hours and today's pre-market at about 176 here. So stock is holding higher, although it is beneath its VWAP. It's got about 10% of the float shorted and 3.34 days to cover versus a float of about 21 million. Do you see anything here on the Beam chart worth noting?
Yeah, VWAP hates the stock.
Okay.
I mean, that's your teal line right there. It's just the price maybe has several prints up above it, and then it just comes right back beneath it. That's the big indicator that I think needs to get captured here. And we're now starting to lose the 65 EMA. So we're going to have to get back above this thing soon. It might even not happen before the open. But if this starts to trade back up towards that VWAP, we're going to want to see a move over that. If we start closing over VWAP, then I think that there's potential for more upside. But for now, for me, I guess I would just kind of wait this one out and see what kind of price action we get if we actually, when we open, start to see this move back above the VWAP. But for now, it looks like it's still struggling with that indicator. real quick, Wiss was mentioning cells.
That's where I was going to go next. Okay. Here we go.
Yeah, so sorry, this is just taking off right now. It looks like it's not moving at the moment.
It's up. 15%. No, it's moving. Yeah, it's up 15% here. Here it is. Creative Media Technology says all patients enrolled and tested across the ADAPT trial of Olestrocel in chronic lower back pain, including FDA-cleared opioid expansion cohort. The trial moves to a follow-up and phase 3 planning. So without going through the PR here, just kind of parsing the title of the PR here, it sounds like they had good data. They're going to move on to phase 3. That generally means more cash is going to be needed.
Yeah.
And let's see if they have it. They got 8.7 million. They're probably going to need more than that, don't you think?
Probably. I mean, they don't have any debt, which is great. Their cash position is pretty much their entire balance sheet, it seems. So I don't know how much it's going to cost them to do their phase 3 cohort or whatever drug this is. It seems like it's for pain medication. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't put it past them that they're going to have to do some kind of capital raise. It would make sense, but I don't know how expensive that's going to be. 8 million might be enough to get things going here, but without looking into this a little bit further, I don't know how much this is going to eat through their cash holding. It could be all of it. They might need to raise. I certainly think that could be the case, but without spending a little bit more time on this, I don't know if they are. They're saying all patients are enrolled, so I don't know how that much is going to impact their next quarterly earnings. But for now, let's just say, okay, great, and we can get out of a trade. And right now, it's running into VWAP, having a bit of a time with that. Yep. I have VWAP at 133.
Yep, I have it at 130, and it looks like it's having a tough time with that spot as well. It does look like 197 to $2 would be another significant resistance if it gets going here. We'll see how that does.
Oh, and perfect. So that 135 is about where the 65-day EMA is, so that could explain why we're running into that area. But you do have some resistance coming up around 150. I think you said that.
Yep. And 150, that's going to be right in here. And then also the one that I was looking at, maybe 197 to 2.
Oh, yeah, that consolidation, absolutely. But look a little bit more to the left. You can see there's a little bit of a wick that came down to 150. And that
right here.
Yeah, so I like that 150 area next.
Okay, I think you're spot on with that. Okay, good stuff there. Stakeholders on the list. This is SKHY. We traded this recently. Look at the formation. I don't really think we need to spend much time on this. Pop to 6, drop almost all the way back down. Careful with this one.
Keep it on your radar if you think it's going to do something else. It might put in another crazy move. Who knows?
Yep. And then Bivy, not to be confused with Binny, which is Mullen. Bivy here, this is actually up. This was being day traded recently quite a bit. I think there are some bag holders in this name, but this stock was popped in the after hours yesterday, popped again here today. Unfortunately, look what these pops do. They create a trend line like this. That's a target. We'll see if we end up getting there. Okay. One more thing I wanted to mention here real quick, Bull. So this is Webull, of course. We talked a lot about this. I know a lot of people have traded this. We look at this in sympathy with Robinhood. Bull reported earnings here. They're higher. We'll see if this can break through 10. This stock has had a lot of trouble making some type of progress to the upside. But if you look at the daily chart, maybe the bottom is in. Nice little break of structure to the upside here. Got some more resistance at about 10.25. What do you think?
Sorry,
that's okay.
A little bit too fast. I was still on.
Yep, sorry. I've had a lot of coffee.
Bivy, real quick. The reason for that big pop and drop, they actually reported earnings, and that was on Thursday. Even though I think this move came the day before, but it was a pop and drop, and I don't see any other news beyond that. Now, with regard to what was the other one you were just looking at?
Bull.
Okay.
Yep.
With regard to Bull, I saw that they had top and bottom earnings beat. Their chart looked also pretty good. Golden Cross today, or it was either today or yesterday. So now we have the technical setup here that could take us higher. We do have some resistance coming in the 10 handle at about 1030, 1025, 1030. If we get past that, then I think there's you could make a case if there's a path to 12. Once we get to 12, then I think you're going to start to see a lot more resistance kick in. Okay. Now, I'm not suggesting that we're going to see 12 today. I highly doubt that'll happen. Best case scenario, you do get some of these 10 prints, but this price is very extended right now. So I think you could end up seeing some selling out of the gate here as a result of where the price is elevated to. And, just because it's going to be a good spot for people to start taking some gains. So I think that's what could happen here with Bull. You might see some selling as a result of the price being high, the RSI being high. But as long as it holds, what is the spot? Let's say as long as it holds 8 or maybe even 9, then it could still go on to recapture 10 and maybe even go to 12 later on.
Yeah, 9 to me seems to be a key level. Okay, really quick here before we open, multiple people mentioning Jay-Z. No, not the artist, the ticker, literally Jay-Z. It is ripping here. Jacob wants to know, what is this junk? This is a China name. Number one, let's check out the market cap, 2.45 million, float, 42 million. So does not have the micro float that we've looked at, but the market cap is tiny. Absolutely tiny. Stock is popping here, up 90% right now. Looks like it was up as high as 443 earlier. Yeah, and what is it? It's a Chinese education stock.
Yeah, just out of nowhere, this move up. Let me see if there's any levels here we could.
Okay, I'm going to flip over to my main workspace to get ready for the open, but I'll bring Jay-Z up so we can take a look at the levels that you're looking for.
That's good. It looks like it kind of just popped up and is running into the 50-day SMA, trading a bit above it right now. It looks like $4 was a support area that they lost back in July, and we are about to open.
Yes, we are.
So I'll be quiet for a moment.
For a moment until we open. Then we need the stupid levels, and we need all the trade ideas. That's right. That's right. All right, folks, we are open. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday.
SGLY, big drop out of the gate. V2 still, I guess it's kind of frozen in place, like it doesn't know what to do. Beam lower, sells. This is actually holding up here out of the gate, but still beneath the VWAP. Bivy just lost its VWAP. JZ is going to halt to the upside.
It is halted, by the way. Your halt time on that, 9:30:35. And also, Webcoin here said Jay-Z might be a pump and dump. That is definitely something that we're watching for here. One of the things is that float is not the micro float that we've seen, but still have it on your radar here. Moderna, by the way, this is down from the after hours highs. It tried to test 200 yesterday. It's come back in. Looks like it's dipping out of the open here. We'll see if it holds 148, which is your 200 EMA on the 5. Oh my God, thinking about it. And thinking about it, coming in hot with the joke. Jay-Z has no problems today. Thinking about it, man, we missed you. Welcome back, buddy.
Huiz is halted to the downside. SGL.
Sorry, 13, that halt time 9:31:03 for anyone tracking it.
SGLY is trying to get some support from its 200 EMA. And we'll see if it turns around here. I'm sorry, RITR. This is turning around, recapturing all its indicators, all the moving averages and VWAP. Looks like it's trying to get up to. Why do I even have this on? This is 15.
It's a 15-cent stock. I don't know.
Sorry, I don't know why that was even on there.
It's
but
okay.
Anyway, I must have mistyped something.
Your terms are acceptable. Bull, by the way, this is pulling out of the open here. We actually had one pull that took us beneath the pre-market low, but it rebounded. I would still watch the 950 level. SGLY, news of an offering.
Okay, well, sorry anybody that was in that one.
Singularity Future commences 5 million stock offering, 1.56 million common shares at $3.20 per share. Stock is $4.30. And here's your pull.
And you know what? Look at the market cap.
Oh gosh. 2.67 million. Can we just Sammy was right. And I wonder, we'll have to ask him. I probably won't remember, but I'll try. I wonder if he reshorted this. Anyway.
We too is trying to recapture the VWAP. This thing has got a substantial spread. So be careful if you're going to trade this one.
Okay. Waiting on Jay-Z with the pump and dump, and then I'll dump. Yep. Westcap. Oh, Westcap, you're funny too. And by the way, the SPY. So we talked about it was really kind of weakening in the pre-market. Now it's firmed up a little bit near the end of the pre-market while we were doing that interview. We did have this one big move up. That's got to be a phantom candle. But today now, since the open, we're actually battling the VWAP here on SPY, 766. Remember, 767.46 was the level of note. This coming back here, trying to recapture its VWAP. ZSTK, that was a mover from yesterday that's halted to the upside, according to WIS. Indeed, it is. Your halt time 932.41 on that, by the way. 489. Your halt price. Which one?
Zero Stack. That's the one you're talking about.
Yes, ZSTK. Yep.
You got resistance coming at 525. If you look at toward the end of the day, you started to get this consolidation, and it was getting support from that 525 area.
Oh yes, it was.
Before it finally lost it as it went into the close. So that's going to be the earliest area of resistance. I'm not saying that the price is going to turn around and go lower from there, but you might get some back and forth as it tries to manage its way through that area. Then we can look at the next resistance area. But for now, that first one, the next one that's coming up is going to be that 525 area. All right. What else is looking good here? SKHY, that thing is probably this. I don't know. Maybe that trade's a little bit better if it can recapture the 200 EMA. But here we go with WE2. That's now above 33. Still don't like the spread in this one.
And then Kathy here mentioning MRVI. That's not MRVL. That's not Marvell. MRVI is a biotech name. And indeed, so Moravia Life Sciences. And Kathy, this is actually a pretty good break above yesterday's intraday high. Not a bad mention here, Kath. This was not on the radar for me.
I mean, we talked yesterday about how we could see a lot of these biotechs start to go because of Moderna's news.
Yes, we did.
Wouldn't you know it, this company has Moderna's news in its news feed. So I think when you look through some of these, if they're putting Moderna's news in their news feed, that might be one to take a closer look at for a trade.
And we talked about this last night, 13. Yep. Mm-hmm. Our group talked about this last night, dude.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So now everybody's got all their eyes on biotechs. Ooh, biotech, these things could run. So look for these low float names, the ones that have low market capitalizations, like even ones that are under 5 million. Those are getting a lot of attention for reasons we talked about earlier. So they're out there. I think the biotech trades are going to be a bit of a theme here off the heels of the Moderna and Merck's news.
I think you're absolutely right on that. Kathy, let me know if you have anything else on this, targets, ideas, anything. This is a nice pop, nice mention right here out of the gate. You also mentioned you mentioned more than just this. You also mentioned AMLX. This is Amylyx Pharmaceuticals. We actually looked at this recently. This had a nice move, moving again. This too above the intraday high from yesterday on today's move higher. And then someone I think was asking about Palantir. I can't find it. We had kind of a lot happening. I can't. If you can repost, whoever that was, if you can repost that comment, I can try and get to it. I wanted to find your actual comment itself. I lost it in the chat there. Sorry. Demoralizations. That's an interesting Twitch handle. Bull plus 10%. I'm in until 20%. So you're long bull here, looking for another move higher. It's actually 12, almost 13% now. So I think you're probably looking. I'm judging by. I'm going to just try and eyeball this. You're looking for maybe about 1037 or thereabouts for your target there. See if bull gets that. This is a dip and pop back. See if it can break that trend line that we have in the pre-market. Let me go ahead and add it to the chart here.
JZ is open and traded higher. 525 is the high.
Okay. And by the way, HUIZ is also open. This got halted to the downside, I think. Looks like it's trading back up here just above its 65 EMA. We too halted.
$5.25
to the downside. And also with We2, sorry, 13, I'll go back to that. Also with We2, we now have this trend line as well. Thank you, Chad. I'm sorry that I missed this earlier. Thank you for redoing or for putting it back in here. Real quick before we go back to Jay-Z here. Palantir, Chad saying thoughts on Palantir, looking to short back down to the gap fills. Lion Atlas is dancing somewhere. He loves your idea of shorting. What gap fill are you talking? I think right down here, you're looking to short this back down to 128. You know, I'll say if that's what you're looking for, I'm just assuming, but if that's what you're looking for, you need a crack of 160 before you even start thinking about that. On Palantir, down 1.5% here today.
HTOO's breaking down, going down to the 65 EMA. You might have some support there if you. I'm just going to draw a quick trend line here from the highs earlier in the pre-market, and that does kind of give a line up really nicely with the 65 EMA. So there might be support coming here in HUIZ right about the 65 EMA. We'll see if there's a turnaround coming.
Trey says, yeah, 160 a major spot. So maybe you do get that here, but 160 first. By the way, MRVI continues to trade higher here. 816 your high print. Retro saying a late getting here, so I take it Walmart had bad earnings. Well, yes. So with Walmart, they beat on the top and the bottom line, and they raised guidance. But there was some more. I covered it earlier. There's some more like a look under the hood on tariff refunds being a part of that, the whole 9 yards. So it wasn't as clean of a beat number as it looked on the surface. There's actually more noise under the surface, and it looks like Walmart's trading down on that now. Actually, let's take a look at Walmart since the market is opened here.
Their Q3 guidance doesn't seem to be as great as their fiscal year 2027 guidance. That could be one of the reasons why it's down. They're actually missing the estimates in their Q3 guidance.
Yeah, what was raised was the full year.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. You're right on that.
JZ after hitting 525 halted to the downside. Bivy still climbing. It's looking for 170. That was the high earlier in the pre-market. We'll see if it can climb beyond that. Went as high as 196 in the after hours yesterday. I have a level here at 230. I don't know. We'll see it, but if it continues with this price action, maybe.
I think it needs to probably get above that 170 area. Thanks, Ryan. I picked up a few shares at 105. Okay, who was trying to short Walmart out of the open? So, one of you was saying I'm going to buy puts on Walmart out of the open. Looks like we've got long and short thoughts there. On Walmart. Ed says, man, the new Schwab app sucks. I don't know what app you're talking about, but I will say this. I've been talking to other people about this. I've noticed that since I've moved over to the bot and I'm trading via the API, it is so much faster than Thinkorswim. Like so much, like the same indicator in my platform versus the indicator that's running the automated trading strategy. Like the fills come so much faster via the API. So I'm not surprised to hear that you're complaining of other things kind of lagging or being slow there.
Zero Stack still halted, which is interesting because I thought that would have unhalted by now.
Let me review the time here because there were a lot of halts and I forgot.
Yeah.
Zero Stack, that was 9:32:41. So I think we want to look for the 10-minute halt, which comes in about a minute.
Yeah. Okay. That was the first halt, so I would have thought a 5 minute would be the initial one. So
you're right on that. By the way, some of the Bitcoin names higher here today. BMNR dipped out of the open, but looks like it might be bouncing a little bit. Per, I should say. This is Hyperliquid. This actually popped yesterday on Trump saying that I think the FTC, he's going to try and bring Hyperliquid to the United States. If I'm going off memory, sorry about that. That popped it in the afternoon yesterday, went higher in the after hours and pre-market, but now it looks like it's trying to be constructive once again. Go ahead.
Bivy is still climbing, running out of steam here a little bit. We'll see if it comes back in, if it gets support around VWAP, which would be around 160. If that happens and it curls back up again, we might see some higher prints.
That's for Bivy there. Yeah. Real quick, Trey says, Ryan, what system did you write the code in and connect to their API through? Okay, so I wrote the bot program using Grok Build. So it did all of the coding for me. And I used the free-to-use Schwab API that I had to apply for. I got accepted in a day, but I had to apply for that. And then I wired that API up to the bot. I also, by the way, because you do have limits when you use APIs, I also have a couple of things like the bot will scan for things and the bot will fall back and use pricing from a free site like Yahoo Finance, for example, if it's not looking for something that's up to the minute or live. So I did that. I separated that to keep the load off the Schwab API. Pro tip.
Bibby's still going.
Yeah, it is.
Bibby
got it on screen.
And we're now getting to the point where Bivy has not put in any closes up at this area beyond 181. So there could be some resistance coming here.
Trey says, so Grok is trading for you? No, the app that I built is trading for me. Grok built the app, and I use Grok to monitor the health of the app and the health of the stream and the connections. What's actually doing the trading are the trading strategies. And I cannot stress this enough. If you folks are going to go down this route, it doesn't matter what you write your code in. Write it with Claude, write it with Chatty. It doesn't matter. Write it with Grok. Doesn't matter. What matters is the strategies. The strategies that I've based the bot off of have been indicators that I've developed and watched for months and in some cases years. So the multi-time frame cloud that it's trading off of, this is something that I've been monitoring and using for years. Grok wrote the code, but it actually created files that comprise an app that runs on my machine. Jay-Z's
trying to push Beyonce 525, and we have Bivy still climbing 183 now, still running into resistance around that same area where it was in the after hours. We have cells trying to get some support from the 65 and 200 EMAs on the 5-minute. Beam trading has really slowed down. I mean, volume has quite literally fallen off a shelf here. Need to see a resurgence of volume in order for this to trade up again. We2 just keeps hitting that VWAP and getting rejected. I don't know if that's going to continue or if sellers are going to eventually traders just going to eventually get tired of this thing and leave it. HTOO's trying to turn around 65 EMA support.
13, thinking about We2 here, just kind of looking at this chart, I would not be surprised if this all of a sudden becomes in play if it snaps this trend line. So I know it's battling with the VWAP right now, but if this cracks and goes higher through this trend line, this might get interesting. Ross, when you take a trade, does it show up in your Thinkorswim as I've just got my API keys today? Yes. And this is one of the coolest parts about it. When it takes a trade, if I pull that ticker up in Thinkorswim, I see the order. I see it there. I see the position. I hear the sounds from the broker when the bot actually executes the trade. It's really, really cool. Pro tip for you though, Ross. If you're going to do this, make sure that you have some type of ability to flatten positions from what your bot or your dashboard or whatever you build, because if you take a trade, if the bot takes a trade and then you flatten it in Thinkorswim or you do anything to it, add to it, put scale out of it, whatever, the bot's not going to know that you did that unless it has some type of rebalancing of whatever that position is. So make sure you think ahead there and put some of those controls in whatever you're using to control it, so the bot knows what you're doing if you veer from the automated trading. All right, sorry about that.
Yeah, everybody, crypto is having a good day. That's why you're seeing all these, those stocks that are,
whoa,
that have crypto in them doing well. So yeah, Mara, Riot, BMNR.
I'm sorry for interrupting here. We just had multiple repeat call sweeps on Wayfair, ticker W. These are the 105 calls that expire January of 2027. These lots are big. We're talking anywhere between 139 to 500 contracts. This is a multi-million-dollar upside bet Wayfair. I'm just eyeballing it. This looks like about 3 million spread across multiple call sweeps. That's the January expiry.
So that would imply that this, if you look at the Wayfair chart, it looks like this thing is trying to make a break over 120.
Sure does. Here's your daily.
Yeah. So that's what the chart looked. This thing had a massive fall from November 2021. This thing kind of fell out of favor. It even got removed from, I forget which exchange. Maybe it was the Dow. Wasn't this in Dow at one point? I think it was. But anyway, now you have a golden cross. This thing is on the recovery. If they can get past 120 and not confirm a double top, that'd be fantastic for the stock.
Yeah, and by the way, those calls were like at the money calls. So just very, very interesting action there to start here. Worthy Legacy. Boom. Let's get the register rings going. Great call on Bivy. So let me bring it up here. We'll take a look at it. Great call there on Bivy. Got in and out, 5% gain, pushed way past the trend line. But I'll take the win. No FOMO. Hey, good way to start the day there. Good first trade out of the gate. Duty gives a W price target of 125. Let me tell you something. If it goes to 125, those 106 calls for January are going to be up bigly. Getting some mixed signals here across the indices. I have a bear trend in the Qs, but I have a break of structure to the upside. SPY is just kind of neutral right now. IWM is choppy, but in a bearish pattern.
SpaceX unlocks today. They have a 5% tranche.
Yep.
Sorry, 7% tranche that unlocks today.
Yep. That was the next one. By the way, your zero stack is open 13. It looks like it popped higher and then came back in. Excuse me.
We too still, I mean, it's still hitting that same area. That consolidation from in the pre-market and around 7:30, that has been the resistance for the stock this morning, and it's still trying to chew through it. Might actually start to get it, but volume I think needs to be a little bit better. JZ still trying to put in some more highs. Current high 546. SMCI completes its investigation. Senior management unaware of scheme. Sure. Sure that they're unaware.
Whatever you say, Chief.
Whatever you say, yeah. That is just the rinse and repeat for that company. Oh, we had no idea that these senior officials were, these guys were doing this. Let's get rid of them. And then they hire them back later. Look it up. That's what they've been doing. Like,
oh, what happened here?
Looks like Huis is finally getting some of that support from the 65 EMA and the trend line to finally kick in. Let's see if it can manage its way back up towards 275.
The bot just tried a very quick 0 DTE put trade, but basically got stopped out at scratch. Minus $10 on that.
Yeah, Joe, maybe he's going to have to call Snoop Dogg, right?
All right, let's see. What else do we have going on? Cody, we talked about that a little bit. Okay, so Cody, so this is actually bouncing back after its earnings. Boy, what a bad move that had this morning. And then I also saw on here, it just disappeared in my goldfish memory. Baba is what I was trying to remember. Baba actually had some news this morning, I think, too. Baba down almost 3%. Alibaba shares are trading lower after the company reported mixed Q1 financial results, although this is coming back too.
They're saying AI spending could pay off in 3 years. That might not be great for them at all. We'll see, though, because that seems like, it seems like that's because there's a lot of things I'm thinking about right now. They are already having trouble in their economy, like big time. And this is the next, this is one of their next things that they are going to be building up with for overcapacity. Let's just face it, that's what they do. If that timeline is going to take that long, then you might see a lot of these AI companies, a lot of these AI companies over in China just disappear. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Cancel says, I'll see you in 3 years, boys. Yeah. Enjoy. Take care. We'll all be 3 years older.
Jay-Z halted to the downside. Bivy blasting through that resistance I was talking about earlier. 203 now, the high.
Oh, and I got shaken from that. That 0 DTE QQQ put was the 713, and I think that went a lot higher. Bummer, a little too tight there on the downside protection. Yep, that thing, bought that thing at 220, it's 280 now.
We too, new highs. Finally got that volume it needed.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I'll analyze that a little bit later. All right. About to dip at 369, 5K shares, and I'm all out. Thanks, Jay-Z. Nice job. Westcap here. We'll give you a register ring for that. Let me change to Jay-Z here.
A lot of weakness in all the names this morning.
Yep. And the Qs continue to move lower.
Wow. mRNA. That is a big decline. And this thing went up to almost 195.
So I don't want to. I guess I should be careful about how I discuss this. But if you remember back to COVID, they said they had this vaccine, but they didn't let anyone see the data. Then we found out that the vaccine didn't work. Now they said they have this cancer vaccine, but nobody sees the data. So part of me wonders if there's going to be kind of a move back down in this until we actually get an objective third party to review some of that. I don't know if that's the case. I'm just kind of thinking possibly, and I have no position, so I haven't put any money behind any of this. So take it with a grain of salt, but it's just something to consider.
I mean, the difference now is that you have Merck involved with this. So, and then of course, BioNTech is also moving. So I don't think it's going to be the same thing this time around because Merck, I guess we could say that they have a little bit more trustworthiness, for lack of a better word.
Mm-hmm. And I would imagine that there were lessons learned from the first time around.
Yeah.
So.
There were lessons. It made my stock go up to $400. Let's do it again.
That's a pretty good lesson. Like I said, I don't want to make too much of it, but it's just something to keep in mind. By the way, MRVI, which we talked about earlier, here it is. So we had that nice little impulse move that Kathy called out, went to 817, came back to the VWAP, held, and is now trading back up towards the top. MRVI. Kathy, this was a really good mention here.
Yeah.
Really good mention here on MRVI.
So, Bivy hasn't shown signs that it's finished yet. We haven't been back up to the 203 high that it made, but it's still getting some volume. I have 230 as the next resistance area. If we can, get back above $2. So on a recapture of 2, if this continues to run, 230 would be next resistance I'd be keeping an eye on.
Okay, here is Bivy. And it's coming to that too. Let's see what happens here at 2.
It's going to do it.
It pulled 5 cents right off that first 2 print.
Mm-hmm.
Retro closed a position in bull 985 from 840. Purchased, and this was purchased moons ago. That means you just unloaded a bag, buddy. Register ring. And Chewbacca absolutely loves your effort. MRVI continuing to trade up here. Bivy did find resistance right at 2.
Mm-hmm. It's going to lean on that 180 area as support now, which is down near a VWAP as well.
Hyperliquid back through its VWAP. This now through 10. I still think that one of your resistance areas is going to be about 1090. See if there's any other interesting. I'm seeing Ondas calls get bought. And maybe those are sold. The 5 calls. Let's see you selling those. Maybe not. Hood. Didn't someone bring up Hood earlier?
Maybe on as we were talking about bull, but I can't say for sure. Bivy dealing with a seller at 189, 190. If we get some volume expansion here, we could see a big move up through that seller.
Look at this. The Qs, man. These are all over the place. I probably wasn't the only person to get shaken from this position. This thing wicking in both directions. This actually, to me, looks like we probably want to go down and test 710, though. Cancel. Trying out a AI prompt on the chat here. Can anyone explain to me what is holding up Tesla? Like, explain it to me like I'm 5. Oh, I've used that before with some of the AI tools.
I don't want to sound condescending.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it either. I'll let someone in the chat do it if they want. I just was amused by the comment. SPY rolling over, by the way. IDAI on the doorstep of 3 again.
Nice. Yeah, so Tesla's still kind of going through a little bit of a gap fill. That's going to fill up around, what is this? Close to 375. So, and it's got some, it's got some a lot of resistance in the way. You got the 500, you got the 360 psychological level, you've got the 50-day SMA. It looks to me like it's just trying to fill that gap, and once that gap's filled, we might just see it go lower again. That would be my guess. Wish we'd be getting some more, some better price action in some of these names. There's so much sideways price action on a lot of these. Fortunately, we did get some good trades out of JZ and MRB, or whatever the one that you were looking at there.
Let me ask you a question here. Do you think that there might be another move here in JZ today?
Oh, you mean like one of the ones we see later on in the afternoon?
Bingo.
I mean, what's the float? I don't know. I don't even know what the news is, or I'll say maybe, because there's so many of these that come through every day, and sometimes they don't even have news, but they just move around. They have a lot of eyes on them, so I'll say maybe. I don't want to give a prediction like it's definitely going to happen. But just it's something to certainly watch for.
Yeah, I was just saying maybe just something. Keep it on your watch list there. Lion, have a great day, man.
Take care, Lion. Full self-driving, Optimus. Yeah, those are things that we need out of Tesla. We need to start hearing some more information. But lately, it's all been about SpaceX, which, by the way, they just completed I say completed like it's the only one they're going to do. They just did a static test fire on their Starship 41, the one that's going to be flying supposedly next week. It was only a single engine test fire. I don't think that's going to be sufficient for them. So there may be another one tonight, but they are getting ready for that launch that's supposed to happen late next week.
Copart, by the way, this traded up 13. I just noticed a couple of Copart call sweeps.
Nice. I like it. I think that's. I think it's going to be a good turnaround story here with this one after selling off from a double top. Now they're looking at picking up that CCC company. I mean, at least that's what the reports are.
Yep.
I don't know how true it is, but if they pick it up, I think that'd be great for them.
Now, what was interesting about that is that the initial reaction moved the stock lower only before reversing and going higher. So I think the long-term view on that is probably that it's going to be positive.
Yeah, and that initial reaction was like, oh, crap, that's money leaving the company. They're buying something. Everybody out. That was, I think, the initial reaction. Good morning, Paulo. Or Pollo. You heard a rumor that Elon wants majority voting rights over Tesla again, but he's not going to pull another Twitter. I mean, it may be if and then that would kind of fuel more speculation that that SpaceX and Tesla are going to merge. If that happens, that would be where I would start to think. We're going to move here out of Bivy. It may take us up over 2 again. Certainly looking like we're getting some volume expansion. What's up? You got a sore tooth or something?
No, I don't have a sore tooth. I've been sitting here. That was very, very fast. The bot literally just traded those Q puts perfectly. They traded those Q puts perfectly, filled 187 on the 712.0 DTE put, scaled the first at 225, scaled the rest at 229 when it started to lose it. We're in the green here on the it is doing exactly what I wanted. It took me 2 weeks to get this thing, but boy, oh boy, that is awesome. All right.
Bivy, real quick, this is concerning that we have 3 upper shadows here. So if we close with another wick that's this length on the 5-minute chart here, I think this is an indication that we're turning around this inability to get back and hold above 2. So Bivy, a little bit more risk here now if we do not get that volume that takes us up through 2 and holds it.
See if this blows through 2 here on that.
Yeah, or if we get rejected and then that's that.
And you know what we might see, 13, test, maybe even a pop above into a knife down to VWAP. So just be careful. Yep. Anything's possible there. Okay. Looking around here.
mRNA bounce maybe. Hi, Jemin. AZI down. AutoZ Internet Technology. This is one that was
a recent runner, wasn't it? That AZI.
Looks like they had news today. Again, they had news yesterday and they had news today. Multiple investors for approximately 55 million follow-on financing after completing 30 million investment to accelerate core business expansion. Okay.
And really quickly here, I just want to mention this while you're thinking about that. JJ's mentioning MMA here. This is interesting. MMA is a penny stock, but it's halted to the upside on a pretty decent formation here. Hot Rod, if you're out there from our group, I think also trading this nice little move here, nice little formation. I'm going to sit the penny stock out, but there you go, JJ. MMA halted. 13. What did you need me to go to here?
Oh, nothing. I was just looking at AZI and thinking out loud. But
okay, well, I'll go back to it. I'll put it up for a visual aid. What the hell?
I don't know if we're going to start to trade higher here. It's I'm going to go to my broker actually.
Let me zoom out a little bit. What was the market cap on this AZI China Junker again? 7 million. Okay, but that's after a pop, right? So this thing was, dude. I think yes. So this AZI, when we first looked at this was beneath 5 million in market cap.
Yeah.
It popped, it went higher here. So we're getting that slightly higher read, but this fit the thesis.
Yeah. So I guess 160 is your next resistance. And then you have 175 is the one after that. If it's, it's got some news, so it's probably just also running on that, but those are the next resistance areas. I don't know that this is going to put in some fantastic moves like it did yesterday. We're going to need to see a lot more volume out of what it's providing right now if we're going to get anywhere near that. So far, upper shadows and Bivy starting to hold up there. We'll see if this provides a loss of the VWAP.
Okay, and I'm noticing here that the SPY and the Nasdaq are trying to bounce, but we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. IPST being mentioned by WIS, that was one of the big movers from yesterday.
There it is. And I was like saying, "Oh, keep an eye on this one. It still might do something." And now here we are today, finally.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, only today. Yesterday it was, keep an eye on it as it went way down, and now we're getting a little bit of relief. Fortunately, all that price action gave us a bunch of levels that we can use for support and resistance, and it looks to me like the next resistance is going to be probably around 1160. There's also a trend line here we can draw from in the pre-market that may give us a bit of a target. And wouldn't you know it, that could take us right to 1160.
So what's the trend line here?
The pre-market highs.
I think I see. So it's this. I gotcha. I see it. I had an indicator that was kind of going over that. Let me add this here. Sorry, I really have to concentrate to see that.
So there's that. Now do this just for funsies. You see in the morning yesterday when it turned around and tried to recover, but then it got a knife. Yeah. So take the highs from that and do a horizontal line. And let's see where it lines up with the trend line.
13's eagle eyes, dude.
There. So right in that
I
same
might have
area.
drawn this. To be fair to you, 13, I might have drawn this kind of sloppily. You could probably raise this a little bit more, but it conveys the same idea, I think.
Yep. Here comes Clove.
No, I love this. Matthew here. Look, Matthew, I think is like, he's getting in here. Like, he's not really trolling, but he's kind of trolling the trollers, which I can appreciate. Have we taken a look at Clove today? We might as well do that.
It's funny. That's all it is to me at this point. It's just funny.
Yeah. I'm smiling. I'm laughing. Clove, flat, unch, as they say. Will it still be unch at lunch? You tell me.
I still think that you have a better shot of finding support down at 4. We haven't been in there since we've been, talking about this and having people come on asking about it. It looks like it's going to go to 4, and you may get some better support down there. So there's my 2 cents on that one.
Okay, and look, we did it. We hit our Clove quota. We checked it.
So JZ is almost back to start. It's approaching the 65 EMA. And Bivy is still holding the VWAP, but I don't like those upper shadows. I get a sense that there's maybe a pull coming that takes us underneath 180. We'll see.
HIMS had a decent move today, a continuation move from the all right move yesterday. It looks like it did find some resistance there at 33. If this thing pulls back to 32, 33, holds that VWAP, and then trades back up, maybe something here for HIMS.
How long can we prop this market up with impending doom? Oh,
well, if I just to kind of go back to quote Mark Petrino from last week, he said in all of 2026, the market has really been climbing a wall of worry. How long can that last? Your guess is as good as mine.
Until the Band-Aid gets ripped off. When does that get ripped off? I don't know.
Yeah, that's there.
You'll know when it happens because we'll feel it. Yeah, just we've got to trade what's in front of us, and just be prepared for all these expectations we're having about the market.
Whitney's asking if SpaceX would make a good short today. Whitney, we can't really tell you what to do. Would it make a good short today? I think you're asking because of the insider tranche unlock. The last time we saw this happen, the stock went wild. So I don't think that you should necessarily be looking at the news just to think, okay, this might be a good short. Could it sell off if it breaks the 132.61 low? Sure. But look what happened last time. It kind of like jammed those folks that were kind of setting up for the obvious short. I air quote that because nothing's really obvious. But
I got some stuff here for you if you want to give you an idea of where we might find support. So if you look at the 130 level and you consider the Friday, August 7th green candle that took us above it, ever since we've been back above that 130, it's provided support. Look at the following 2 days where we traded back down towards that area, found support down near 130, and then we went higher. Now we're back down here as support. That's number one, okay? Number two, draw a trend line from the June, I think that's the IPO day? Yeah, the IPO day, the low of the IPO day through the low of June 23, so the 12th and the 23rd. Draw a trend line through those and keep it going beyond today's price action. That lines up pretty well with 130. So I think you are going to be seeing some support coming at 130. Now, whether or not we hold up and continue in reverse, that's a whole other argument. I'm not there to make that argument. I'm just saying that you may have support coming at 130, and that could stop the downward price action for today.
Okay. There you go. Like I said, we can't tell you what it's going to do, but some good charting on that, some things to think about for that trade. Horvath asking, what's up with Moderna? Were you around yesterday at all? They had some pretty big news on personalized cancer vaccine. What's happening to it today? Probably just a little bit of a breather. This was a big cap biotech that moved 170+% yesterday. Little bit of a pullback here today. This is not something to get all worked up about unless you bought the highs.
Your RSI yesterday when we closed was 92. That's nothing I would ever buy.
Yeah.
When you have a daily close above 92 RSI, that is just so wildly overbought that this thing has to come in. And come in it has. Now, I'll say this. If we get an inside candle today, I'd say that there's a good chance that if the support holds, we could start to trade back up.
Okay.
But I'm not trying to make predictions. I'm just telling you what might happen.
Well, I'll tell you something, 13. That's a pretty, look at the size of this candle. Some people call this like a mother candle. Like, look at the size of this thing. This could very easily be an inside candle today.
Oh, yeah. We just got to close inside the real body of yesterday, and we've got our inside candle. And in this, what seems to be an uptrend right now, it could take a few days to get back up to the highs of yesterday and break over them. So that's something just to watch for. If we get this inside candle and the price holds up here.
Something to keep an eye on there. MMA Westcap is clinking champagne glasses. This thing looks like it went to 90 cents. This is now in a downside halt at 73 cents.
Sells with a nice green candle here, moving through some of the EMAs that was keeping the price suppressed. Looks like this wants to climb up to 125 where I have VWAP. Where do you have yours?
Let's see. CELZ, VWAP 125, right on the head.
Okay. Now, I also got to mention Bibby. This is still holding the VWAP, but it's just creating a whole family of upper shadows here. And it tells me that there's, a fight going on between the bulls and the bears in this one. Bears want this thing, not to go back above 185. Bulls want this thing to not go beneath 180. So who's going to win?
Those upper wicks are very telling to me, 13. It really just seems like this thing has some significant resistance above it.
Yeah. So we're going to need to see some big, significant volume if we're going to take out those sellers that are creating these wicks.
Indeed. And we're actually seeing the opposite of that. We're seeing the volume come in from its high earlier when it printed that high. All right, 15 minutes left here today. Not a bad Thursday. And I am so excited that there's a football game. I know it doesn't count. No, don't care. I'm excited still.
Yeah, and we'll have some spicy meme recaps on that too. We'll be sending you
okay, I'm ready for it.
That is such a lot of stuff being thrown at you at once.
I know. I was like, it's like,
but it's hilarious, isn't it?
It is funny. No doubt.
You're like seeing all these different things. Like, oh, I remember that movie. Oh, I remember that movie. I remember when that happened. And they just, it's so relatable with all these things. But man, they really just tend to overdo it in those videos. It's hilarious.
Folks, for those of you trying to trade SPY and the Qs today, I'm sorry. Looking at this chart here, this is just choppy action. Now, this is trending down. I know we kind of popped off the pre-market lows. This is kind of trending down here, though. Not the greatest action here. And if you look at the actual like 0 DTE put chart, like if you chart the price of the premium, it is all over. This thing is swinging. The 713 put for the Qs is swinging between 190 and 3. It's made like multiple moves back and forth on that. I just hope anyone trading this isn't getting chopped up.
SPY, I still expect this to come down towards 760, maybe even as low as around 755. That would be, that's where I see a lot of support. And, it's had a great move up here into the high 770s. So it's just cooling off needs to kind of happen. But if once we get down to 775, 760, I would expect there to be some support and some buyers to start stepping in. So
I would expect the same thing. The one caveat that I would say here, I've really been focusing on 767.46, and we're beneath that. So it is what it is. Okay, bot took a trade here in the SPY 765 put. We'll see if this works or not.
Just so much. What is the SPY even at with volume, man? Usually you see even more volume than this in SPY, and this is just such a slow morning.
Tess says, "Lol, you could have just ended it by saying if you're trading SPY." I'm sorry. It does kind of feel like that. We'll see if the bot has better success than me. I'd be in trouble on this. Bot's down on the SPY put that it just bought though. Derek saying Bivy is great for trading. Beware of the spike. It'll drop swiftly when it drops. Just look at the 5-day chart.
Well, I mean, you had that news on the 12th. I think that was what I was talking about earlier with their earnings. Let me double check that. But yeah, to your point, I mean, yeah, this thing has these really massive moves, and then they just sell right off. Okay, so that was the 12th, and they reported earnings on the 13th. So I don't know if that's what that was. Maybe there was somebody knew something ahead of that. But they also had some phase 2 results the week before. That also caused a bit of a run up into that news, because that was on Thursday, and we had a run up in that week, and then Thursday the news dropped and it sold off. Looks like it was it met pre-specified endpoints, so I guess that wasn't good enough for shareholders. But to your point, yeah, there's on a piece of news it'll run up and then it'll come right back in when the market opens. That appears to be the case. It's a good mention.
Buffalo asking, how does the bot know what stocks to pick? So are you talking about the contracts for the 0 DTE? If that's the case, it picks the one that's at the money.
And Bivy is getting some increased volume. That's why it's starting to turn around now. But I still maintain, be careful with this one.
Well, 2's the spot.
Well, 2 is the spot right now. If we get past that, 230 is the next spot. But we were waiting. We were cautioning this one because of the lack of volume and the fact that it was running into sellers at 2. So now that we have better volume, that's putting pressure on the sellers. We might actually get through this now. But once the buyers are done with their trade, then the seller is just going to knife this thing.
All right, bot is stopped out of that SPY put. Choppy it is.
Let's see, is there anything else turning around? It doesn't look like it there is.
No, IDEA,
sells maybe.
IDEA is all right today. Palo Alto might try and go through 360. SpaceX still near the lows. Doesn't look great out there.
I mean, that's okay. Market really needs to cool off anyway.
And look at Bivy, stopped at 2 again. Now it's going to come back on here, so we'll see what happens.
But volume is still expanding, so I'm not counting it out just yet. We just mentioned that volume was going to be the component it needs if we're going to go higher, and it's getting it. The question is it getting enough of it?
Okay, so you folks asking here, I'll do this real quick, 13. Trey saying he probably gives the bot 20 stocks to watch, and then whatever of those hits his parameters. So indeed, so here we go. So what I have here is I have the different strategies that the bot is running. I actually have the fair value gap one off because I need to work on that. That's been kind of the loser. The rest of these work pretty well. But to Trey's point, you're right. I have a scanner that scans for some MTF setups, but basically the way I control this is I have stock universes that this bot can trade. So for the cloud, it's a lot of the AI names, memory names that we've been talking about. For the multi-time frame cloud, this produces a list of 10 from a scan every morning and also scans at nighttime. And for the news move, I actually added this last night after Moderna. This is manual entry. So it trades a universe of stocks that I set. So I have complete control over that. As far as the 0 DTE stuff, it's just looking at SPY and Qs. So it has a very limited universe that it's going after when it comes to 0 DTE. MMA, here's our penny stock. What's this doing? Okay, this came all the way back in. Yikes.
Looks like there's just a move to safety at the moment in the markets.
Yeah, it seems like that. Now, what's interesting is that Apple's not up, and we have been talking about Apple kind of being a tech safety trade, not responding today. Wheezy, the bot is called Nightfall Edge, although the chat seems to have renamed it Body McBotface.
That's one of the greatest achievements of chat.
And naming it. Yeah. And Trey here with Ryan using options. So I'm only using options on the 0 DTE strategy. Otherwise, it's trading stock. But he was saying there are very few tickers you can do that with speed without too much slippage. So I actually added a slippage control in the bot too, and I currently have it set to tight. So it will only allow a entry of about, I think, 5 cents on the option contract. It's 0.3% on stocks because we trade a lot of the high price stocks. But the slippage is not the problem. I was just talking yesterday. The API is so much faster than Thinkorswim that it's almost like an awakening for me. Like I get fills faster from the bot at better prices than I do clicking the buttons in my platform. Slippages, I actually thought that was going to be a problem, Trey. Turns out it's not.
Huiz gave back everything, and now it's trying to turn around. So
and look where it's turning around, 200 EMA.
Yeah, that's right. Recapturing that now.
Buffalo, no kings. You can't smile. What's life even worth? Look at the SPY. So my puts that the bot took, smoked. Thankfully, we have stops. Look at that move. Choppy. We've been saying it from the beginning of the day here today. Choppy.
Choppy, low volume. I mean, yeah, this is gonna probably be how it is for the rest of the week until next week when we actually have a lot more interesting news and earnings.
The rest of the week is today and tomorrow.
No, well, I meant last week. No, yeah, well, okay, so yes, sorry, back up. The rest of this week, which is today and tomorrow, it's probably going to be more of this, and then next week we have much better news, better earnings, NVIDIA. SpaceX is supposed to launch their 14th test flight, and we also have the economic symposium that weekend with the FOMC. So
the Jackson Hole.
Yeah, right? There's a lot of things to look forward to next week.
And 13, you tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about this. You think this Jackson Hole might be a little bit closely followed with the new Fed chair who's not talking as much as the old Fed chair, and now they're having the symposium? I feel like there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on that.
Probably. I don't know. I can't speak to the number of eyeballs on it, but I think it's going to be interesting what gets said. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting mentions about crypto and digital assets. That's just speculating, but I think that's going to get mentioned a lot.
I think that's good speculation.
And as we've talked about, I think we talked about it yesterday in Happy Hour. There may be a case or something that they're going to try to push where they're going to try to hold off on rate changes probably until November.
Yeah. You let the midterms do their thing because it's going to get so political in both directions.
Yes. Yeah. So they're probably not going to have any rate changes until the November FOMC meeting.
Westcap says, I actually used to watch Tasty Trade, but I'm glad I don't anymore. You guys are freaking awesome in Oregon. You're awesome.
Oh, thanks.
And if we created something that you're enjoying here more than what you did in the past, amen. That means 13 and I are doing the right thing. We were talking earlier that we had some trolls in the chat earlier this week that just got they went and took a forever nap, so you won't be seeing them again. But the reality is that if there are haters, that means we're doing something right. And I confirm that feeling by listening to the positive comments that you guys say about how much you enjoy it, how helpful it is, so on and so forth. So that's good to hear, Westcap. Again, we're open to feedback. Let us know what you want more of. All right, 13, we got a couple of minutes left here. Whis mentioning PLCA. As soon as he typed that, I saw PCA because I can't help myself. Lol. But this thing halted and moving and now open and moving higher. Was this on news, Whis? 13. No, this was not. The last piece of news was the 13D from late July.
Japanese company.
Mm-hmm. What does this do? Let me see.
This is like wireless communications equipment, I believe. Wireless mesh solutions, yeah.
Okay.
Cloud portal services. Yeah. There's got to be some other reason why this is going.
Yeah, I don't see anything to attribute the move to other than newsletter action or something of that nature, but I can't even confirm that. I don't know.
Wow, this thing loses a lot of money. Yeah, I don't know. This is one of those where I would have to spend more time looking at it to understand what's going on here, or why it's moving. But instead of doing that, I can just go right to the technicals, and that can tell me something more immediate. And right now, it's looking to me like this 12. I would say 12 to 12, maybe even 13. $12 to $13 looks like a resistance area that the price has frequently run up into and not been able to close at. So we could see some higher prints here in PCLA because it's done this very same move multiple times. It just pops up and then comes right back in same day. So I would say maybe 1250 is probably one of your higher end targets you could reach for in PCLA, but I don't know beyond that what you could get.
Okay, 13, we're out of time. Really good breakdown there to close it out. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Any closing words for the group?
Well, some days are like this where they are slow. They don't have a lot of volume, and it's just because the market's tired or there's other things at play. But you know what? Tomorrow is another day. There will be volume coming back. We'll find these stocks that are moving. We'll trade them. We'll have a good time like we always do. So until then, folks, have a great rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
All right, 13, really good stuff here today. Take care of yourself. We will see you tomorrow. Folks, we are out of time here for today, but do not despair. We will be back again tomorrow. Have a great rest of your Thursday. Enjoy the sports this afternoon. If you're into that type of thing, study up and be ready. We'll close the week out tomorrow with Mark Petrino. Remember, no Anne Marie tomorrow as well. So we're going to have Mark on. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. Have a great rest of your Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow.